Chapter 4:11. 3 days, Mo Clan. Mo Qingwu's life had become better ever since the important men of the various aristocratic clans had come to visit her. However, Mo Qingwu's father, Mo Xingchen, discovered that his little daughter was becoming more and more taciturn. Every day, she would stay in her little courtyard. Apart from practicing martial arts, she would hold the scabbard and stare blankly. Her character had changed from the original lively and adorable to a quiet and introverted one. At such a young age, she seemed to have a lot on her mind. She would no longer hug his neck and sweetly call him father. She would also no longer reveal a sweet smile whenever she saw someone. Occasionally, when she met a clan member, she would only glance at them with indifferent expressions and then calmly walk past them. A little girl who was only a few months away from turning 11 years old. This kind of melancholy and quiet was like a 20-year-old girl who had suffered a great blow and closed herself off from the world. It made people feel uncomfortable when they saw it. When he took away her scabbard, whenever his daughter saw him, she would plead with tearful eyes, "Father, please return my scabbard to me." But now, she no longer made this request. It was as if the scabbard had never appeared in her life. However, Mo Xingchen knew that the scabbard had truly left an indelible scar on his daughter's heart. Her eyes no longer held hope, no longer begged. Even the toys and jewelry that her father, Mo Xingchen, occasionally bought for her could not arouse a trace of emotion in her eyes. She would only say, "Thank you, father." Then, she would not say anything else. As for those jewelry, she had never worn them before. She was only dressed in red. On her head, there was only that monotonous red cloud steel butterfly, spreading its wings and ready to fly. In her hand, there was only that tattered scabbard. Only when she saw these two things, would Mo Qingwu's eyes reveal a sincere desire. She seemed to be hoping for something, but she would never say it out loud. Mo Tianji had been working hard in the Kanglan battlefront. He constantly ordered people to bring back strange and wonderful things for his little sister. However, Mo Qingwu did not show any expression. He tidied up an empty room and sealed all these things inside. Once, when someone came back and mentioned to Mo Qingwu that the second prince hoped that the young miss would write a letter back, Mo Qingwu said indifferently, "Second brother has great ambitions, he won't need my letter." It was said that Mo Tianji almost broke down when he heard this. From then on, he worked even harder. He worked even harder to build up his own team. He was preparing to snatch back the position of the first successor from Mo Tianyun's hand. Then, he would make proper arrangements for his younger sister. Right now, he was only the second duke. He did not have the authority to arrange such important matters. He knew that his younger sister was sad, but he, Mo Tianji, wanted a long time. A moment of happiness could not cover up a lifetime of gloom. Only when she was by her mother's side would Mo Qingwu's eyes reveal her true feelings. Unwillingness, reluctance, resentment, and helplessness towards this family. Her little heart clearly knew that her family had abandoned her. She was already abandoned by her family. During this period of time, the family had been indifferent to her. Occasionally, they would send their greetings purely because of Ji Mo, Dong Wushong, and other brothers with boundless prospects. This made the family realize that there was still something worth investing in her. So, they slightly changed their attitude. But this change in attitude was for the sake of fighting for greater benefit. Although Mo Qingwu was young, how could she not know that growing up in a big family? If these few dukes showed interest in her, the family would probably immediately arrange a marriage for her and contact an important ally, especially the great elder Mo Wuxin. It was said that he already had this thought and had secretly conveyed this message to Ji Mo, Dong Wushong, Jiyu Duxing, Rui Butong, and the others. If not for the fact that they all rejected her because of her young age, I'm afraid that she would have already been someone's fiancée by now. "Young miss, madam invites you over for a moment," the maid reported. "Okay." Mo Qingwu stood up lightly. Compared to when she was in the lower three heavens, she was already half a head taller, but her figure was still very thin and weak. She slowly walked out of the room. During this time, she had been practicing martial arts with greater effort, but it was to no avail. Moreover, once the spiritual power was channeled to her chest. When it was channeled, she would feel pain and it wouldn't flow smoothly. This made her feel even more hopeless. Little Wu, you're here. Madame Mo looked at her younger daughter with some heartache. She had always seen the changes in her daughter during this time and her heart ached for her, but she was powerless to do anything. Although she was Mo Qingwu's biological mother, she was still only a woman. In this big world where male power reigned supreme and men had many wives and concubines, the status of women was very low. She had no say in the family's affairs. She had no other choice but to accept the family's decision. Mother, are you looking for me for something? Mo Qingwu's eyes flashed. Well, little Wu, you'll be 11 in a month, right? Madame Mo's eyes flashed with a trace of love. You'll be 11 next month on the 7th day of the 7th month. Mo Qingwu's heart suddenly thumped and an inexplicable fear shrouded her heart. Why is mother asking about my age? Could it be? Well, my little Wu has become a big girl in the blink of an eye, Madame Mo said with a sad and frustrated smile. 11 years old. I remember when I was 11 years old. I was already engaged to your father. What? Mo Qingwu took a step back and looked at Madame Mo in a panic. Mother, you. The Mo clan has been in a precarious situation lately. Madame Mo sighed. Your eldest brother and second brother's quarrel has become more and more intense. The strength of the clan has also weakened. This isn't a good thing for the entire clan, therefore, the Great Elder has been discussing with your father to see if they can find a strong and reliable ally for the Mo clan. Madame Mo said with some difficulty. Mo Qingwu's face turned deathly pale. Her body trembled as she looked at her mother. Therefore, they wanted to arrange a marriage for you as soon as possible. Madame Mo helplessly looked at her daughter. The Meng clan came to propose marriage at this time. The Meng clan? Mo Qingwu's face was deathly pale as she stammered. An intense hatred flashed in her eyes. Yes, the Meng clan. And, the Meng clan has also produced a stunning young expert this time. He's the current Grand Duke of the Meng clan, Meng Luo. Meng Luo is 23 years old this year. But, he's the undisputed #1 expert among the younger generation of the Meng clan. In fact, he has already broken through to the king-level expert realm. Madame Mo's lips were somewhat bitter. Meng Luo was correct. This Meng Luo Gong was indeed a king-level expert. He could be regarded as outstanding among the younger generation of the three heavens in terms of strength. It could be said that he was at the peak of the younger generation apart from a limited number of people. Such a talented young man was indeed the best son-in-law of a major clan. But, this Meng Luo Gong had already married. Moreover, he had wives and concubines. Moreover, the Meng clan had come forward to propose marriage. And, he had benefited from it all. This was also a means for Meng Luo to enhance the strength of the Meng clan. He didn't care about the status of this woman in the clan. He also didn't care about her appearance or aptitude. He only wanted to use this method to increase the influence of the Meng clan. Therefore, Meng Luo had come to propose marriage when he had heard that the daughter of the Mo clan, Mo Qingwu, had lost her 3 yin meridians. However, Mo Qingwu had been only a year and a half at that time. So, it had been too easy for people to take advantage of her. But, she was now 11 years old. So, she naturally didn't have such misgivings. Generally speaking, the daughters of major clans who weren't very successful would get married at this age. Therefore, Meng Luo had come to propose marriage. However, this was something that the Mo clan couldn't wish for. The Mo clan had serious internal strife at the moment. So, they needed such an ally. I don't agree no matter who he is. Mo Qingwu firmly bit her lips. Mother, my father had promised me that he wouldn't force me. I don't want to become a marriage tool for the clan. But, your father had promised you. Madame Mo helplessly sighed. She thought in her heart, you had 3 yin divine meridians when your father had promised you. A woman with 3 yin divine meridians would have a limitless future. So, she naturally couldn't be married off so hastily. But, you don't have it now. The clan has always been very good to me. It has been very good since I was a child. But, it was only because of my 3 yin divine meridians. Mo Qingwu's lips trembled. So, the clan gave up when my 3 yin divine meridians were destroyed. They didn't care about her at all, and treated her as if she was a puppy. But, mother, even if it was a puppy, It would still need to be petted and affectionate sometimes. But, your daughter's 3-yin meridian was gone, and no one cared about her. And now, you want to use the body and happiness of this useless daughter who has already been crippled in exchange for an ally. Mo Qingwu hissed, "Mother, am I your daughter? Am I the flesh and blood of the Mo clan? Why is our Mo clan so indifferent and ruthless? I already knew that my fate wouldn't be very good. Immortal, other clans would also ask for the daughter's opinion when they choose her husband and decide her marriage. So, why did you come and tell me directly when it came to me?" Madame Mo's appearance was tantamount to the conclusion of this matter. It was up to Madame Mo to make the final persuasion. Although Mo Qingwu was young, she was well aware of this. But, the great elder has already decided on this matter. Madame Mo looked at her daughter helplessly. "Your father can't do anything. Father can't wait to agree to this matter, right?" Mo Qingwu said sorrowfully, and even somewhat mockingly. Madame Mo was speechless for a while. Suddenly, she said with a trembling voice, "Xiao Wu, I can't do anything. We are one clan, this matter. I can't agree. If you want me to agree, I have to ask someone first." Mo Qingwu wanted to say, "Over my dead body," but, as she said this, she suddenly thought of someone. Her eyes suddenly flashed with a glimmer of hope. "As long as he agrees, or if he doesn't care about me, I will agree." Madame Mo sensed the light and happiness in her daughter's eyes at this moment. It was as if that was her last hope. Her heart couldn't help but tighten as she asked, "Who?" Chapter 412. The owner of dreaming of a gentle dance saber? Great Elder Mo Wuxian muttered to himself. He rolled his eyelids and asked, "Did that little girl really say that?" "Yes." Mo Xingchen sat upright on the chair and rubbed his brows. "Ha ha. I don't know who the owner of dreaming of a gentle dance saber is. He gave such a precious saber to a little girl as a plaything." Mo Wuxian paced 2 steps. He then said with a gloomy smile, "But, Tianji once said that the owner of dreaming of a gentle dance saber is treating the little girl's damaged 3-yin meridians with a miracle medicine. It seems that he said that it would take a year or 3 years. That's true." Mo Xingchen's eyes lit up. He recalled what Mo Tianji had said when Mo Tianji and Mo Qingwu had returned to the clan. "Our Mo clan will have a promising expert if little Wu's 3-yin meridians can be restored. In fact, she will be more likely to advance to the emperor level than Tianji and Tianyun." Mo Wuxian muttered to himself, "It's a pity that such a promising daughter will become Meng Luo's concubine. But, yes, the problem now is whether the owner of dreaming of a gentle dance saber is confident in curing the 3-yin meridians. We will miss a powerful ally of the Meng clan if we don't have confidence." Mo Xingchen sighed deeply. "So, we wait for another year?" Mo Wuxian seemed to be asking himself. He then said, "Let's use her young age as an excuse. Generally, a girl from an aristocratic family must be at least 12 years old when she gets engaged, as long as it's not an arranged marriage since childhood. I believe that the Meng clan won't have any objections, but we must form an alliance with the prospective in-laws during this time. This is also good. We can make plans again if little Wu's 3-yin meridians can be cured after a year. After all, Meng Luo isn't asking for an outstanding beauty as a concubine. He only wants a powerful ally." Mo Wuxian chuckled. "Great Elder, you're right. Moreover, I'm most curious about the owner of dreaming of a gentle dance saber. He may not be able to cure little Wu's 3-yin meridians, but he's certainly not an ordinary person. I can use him." Mo Wuxian's eyes flashed as he said, "But, we'll talk about this later. We'll talk about it when he arrives. But what if he doesn't come within a year? If you don't come within a year, then Qingwu will become a member of the Meng clan. Our Mo clan has already done our utmost benevolence by delaying for a year for the sake of the dreaming of a gentle dance saber," Mo Wuxian said coldly. It seemed that delaying the marriage of his Mo clan's daughter for a year was giving face to an outsider. "This matter is settled then," Soul Fighter said indifferently. Watching Mo Xingchen hurriedly leaving, Mo Wuxian's face exposed a trace of a smile, as he muttered to himself, "That person could casually gift out the dreaming of a gentle dance saber. How could he not have an even more formidable treasure? As long as he came to the Mo clan, even if he had great ability, where could he go? The Mo clan would immediately become powerful if they could obtain the formidable resources in his hands and control him. How could an ally of the Meng clan compare to such a huge benefit? After all, the clan master of Constellation is still a little narrow-minded. Delay for a year. Mo Qingwu opened her eyes and looked at her father. Yes, wait for the person who gave you the dreaming of a gentle dance saber, Mo Xingchen said, but, if there is no news after a year, sigh. I understand. Mo Qingwu was extremely intelligent. Moreover, she had grown up in such a big clan. So, how could she not understand after hearing this sentence? Just like the younger brothers of the imperial family who were 7 or 8 years old, they knew how to scheme against each other to fight for the throne. The younger brothers of the aristocratic clans were also instilled with the concept of the clan's interests from an early age. Perhaps, a child of an ordinary family wouldn't have such awareness even at the age of 20. This was the difference. How could Mo Qingwu not understand that her clan had taken a fancy to the owner of the dreaming of a gentle dance saber? Moreover, it was a win-win situation. Either they could obtain the resources of the owner of the dreaming of a gentle dance saber, or they could directly obtain this talent. Or they could sell her out, and become an ally of the Meng clan, and obtain the support of the Meng clan. However, there was only one key person in the final analysis, and that was herself. She had no value, but suddenly became a cripple again. At this moment, Mo Qingwu suddenly became disheartened. I understand. Mo Qingwu gently turned around, and didn't look at her father. Little Wu, we are a clan. Mo Xingchen helplessly sighed. I know, father. You can go back. Mo Qingwu coldly said. Then, she suddenly remembered Chu Yang's words. She couldn't help but turn around again, and looked at her father indifferently. She then said in a low voice, a clan is a clan, but, a clan without human feelings and with only interests won't last long. When the time comes for destruction, even if 100 daughters are sacrificed and married off, the clan will still be destroyed. A clan that uses its own flesh and blood as tools. Mo Qingwu bit her lips, and slowly said, it's better to have none. Mo Xingchen's facial muscles twisted. He suddenly shouted, evil creature, what nonsense are you talking about? He raised his hand, and was about to slap her. Mo Qingwu stubbornly raised her face, and looked at her father. Her eyes were clear and sorrowful. Mo Xingchen finally put down his hand. Looking at his daughter's clear eyes, he suddenly felt ashamed. He coldly snorted, and flicked his sleeves to leave, leaving only one sentence. You have a year's buffer. I hope you think carefully. You are a daughter of the Mo clan. When it's time to sacrifice for the clan, you have to contribute yourself to the clan. Otherwise, what's the point of the clan raising you? What's the point of the clan raising me? Mo Qingwu stood powerlessly. Suddenly, she shouted in her heart, do parents raise their children for their usefulness? Do clans raise their children for their interests? Even an ordinary clan wouldn't be so heartless, right? I don't want this kind of clan. I don't want it. Brother Chu Yang, Brother Mo, come quickly. I really can't stay here any longer. I really want to leave this place. Mo Qingwu's trembling hands hugged the scabbard tightly, and curled up on the ground. It was the middle of summer, but she felt that her heart and body were ice cold. She couldn't feel the slightest bit of warmth. This was a three-way junction, but it had turned into a small town. Or rather, a small market. Originally, there was only a lonely restaurant here. Although it was lonely, it provided a place for pedestrians to rest. Especially at the entrance of Kanglan battlefront, there was an endless stream of people coming and going. Moreover, anyone who came here wasn't an ordinary person. Ordinary people couldn't come here. Therefore, even if they weren't rich, they still had some family background. Since the establishment of the restaurant, inns slowly appeared, followed by gambling houses, and then brothels. Slowly, all kinds of businesses started here, and it gradually developed into a market. Here, as long as you can think of it, it's all here. Even if you can't think of it, it's all here. Here, you can buy and sell, you can trade, you can also pawn, and you can even relax in all kinds of ways. At the entrance of all these businesses, there was no exception. There was a sign indicating where these so-called buyers and sellers came from, which power they belonged to. For example, a certain indirectly typed out the words, Black Devil in, these 4 words. There was also the Eastern Restaurant, GU Restaurant, and so on. Of course, most of the places had 2 rows of green bamboo planted in front of their doors. And these places were often the most popular places for business. There was no other reason, it was safe. Who didn't know that the 3 Heavens Bamboo was the biggest underworld organization? There were many such markets in Kanglan Battlefront, but every one of them was thriving. For example, this largest and most luxurious restaurant had 2 rows of green bamboo in front of its door. Chu Yang's black robe fluttered, and he slowly walked into the restaurant. There was still an hour before the mealtime, but the restaurant was already crowded with people. Most people were drinking tea and talking loudly. Tea houses and wine shops were the places where news spread the fastest. As soon as Chu Yang walked up, the people at the entrance of the restaurant suddenly felt a cold aura appear. Moreover, it gradually pervaded the air and shrouded over. Did an expert appear? These people were frequent visitors of Kanglan Battlefront. Which one of them didn't have sharp eyes? Suddenly, their hearts trembled, and they turned their heads to look. They saw a black-clothed youth with an indifferent face and a black robe appear at the entrance of the stairs. Then, he took a step forward and looked around. His malicious eyes seemed to be looking for a seat. A waiter immediately greeted him. "Guest, please come in. May I ask if you want to drink tea or eat?" "Wine and food," Chu Yang said coldly. He casually took out an ingot of gold and said, "I want a seat in the middle." The middle was the most central table in the entire restaurant. Sitting here, one didn't need to use martial power to hear all the movements in all 4 directions. It was the best seat to gather information and inquire about information. Generally, people who asked for this seat were people who needed a lot of information, or people who were nosy. This was also the custom of the 3 days. When Chu Yang put forward this request, the waiter immediately understood. The waiter held the gold in his hand, and turned his head somewhat awkwardly. He looked at the middle table, and saw that it was already occupied by 2 people. His face revealed a difficult expression. "It's okay. You go and get the wine and food. I will take care of it," Chu Yang said lightly. The waiter nodded fiercely, and revealed an expression of "so it's an old customer." Then, he left in a relaxed manner. This was also the custom. This restaurant was Bamboo's restaurant. Chu Yang put forward the request, and took out the gold, and gave Bamboo face. It was also equivalent to using an ingot of gold to buy a pass. "As long as I don't go too far, Bamboo can't interfere with me after receiving the gold." Chu Yang's body floated over, and with a strong cold aura, he stood beside the table, and said lightly, "You too, have you eaten and drunk enough?" The strong cold aura seemed to have found its target, and rushed towards these 2 people like a flash flood. Chapter 413. 3 Heavens, the Law of the Jungle. Chu Yang had always remembered that strength was the reason. If you tried to reason with people, they would think that you were a coward. Therefore, he didn't want to reason with people in 3 Heavens this time. "We are from the Black Devil clan." Both of them were revered martial artists. They felt Chu Yang's powerful aura and didn't dare to act rashly. But, they quickly revealed their backgrounds. "Well, you are from the Black Devil clan. Go down." Chu Yang rolled his eyes. He thought, "If you weren't from the Black Devil clan, I wouldn't have bothered to teach you." A sharp murderous aura surged out. The faces of the 2 Black Devil clan agents turned pale. They immediately stood up and said, "We will gift you this seat. Leave your name. The mountains are high and the rivers are long. There will be a time when we will be intimate." "Nonsense. If you don't leave, you will die." Chu Yang snorted coldly. The 2 black-clothed men looked at him with hatred. Then, they got up and went downstairs. The waiter quickly tidied up the table. Then, Chu Yang sat down leisurely. It must be said that the feeling of bullying people was very good. Especially, the people he was bullying were from the Black Devil clan. The restaurant became silent for a while. Chu Yang stood up, and gently smiled. He then cupped his fists in all directions, and lightly said, "I think everyone is very clear about the purpose of occupying this table. I just want to know some new information, such as the current situation, and the status of the big clans. Haha, everyone, don't be afraid. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Of course, I won't let you down if I get the information I want from your discussions. Everyone let out an "oh." There was some schadenfreude in their eyes. But it was completely gone now. This guy had offended the Black Devil clan as soon as he arrived. He was like a hothead. But his words were like an experienced Jianghu person. Especially the last sentence, "If I get the information I want, I won't let you down." This sentence could only be said by an experienced Jianghu person. Moreover, this sentence clearly showed that this person needed a lot of information. Even he found it difficult to choose the focus. So, he chose this method. Everyone talked, and he listened to himself. Fuck, what kind of old fox would think of such a method? However, this person's cultivation is obviously not low. If we're talking about something that he's interested in, what kind of benefits can he offer? Hey, have you heard? The two brothers from the Ji clan had a quarrel with the Gao clan. I heard that the second duke of the Ji clan, Ji Mo, and the grand duke of the Gao clan, Gao Sheng, were jealous of each other. The two of them fought to the death. At the table next to them, a person suddenly changed the topic and talked about the anecdotes of the past 3 days. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows. Ji Mo? Ji Mo and Gao Sheng were jealous of each other? His interest was immediately piqued. With a flip of his hand, an ingot of glistening yellow gold landed on the table of the two men. There was a total of 10 taels. The two turned their heads to look at him in surprise. Chu Yang smiled and nodded, meaning, continue. The two of them were unable to contain their joy. They put the gold in their pockets, and began to talk about the love history of Duke Ji Mo and Duke Gao Sheng. When the others saw this, their eyes immediately lit up. Damn it, we can earn gold just by saying a few words. How could there be such a good thing? Suddenly, the atmosphere in the restaurant became lively. Hey, do you know who are the 8 Grand Dukes of the Kanglan battlefront? The speaker winked. It was obviously for Chu Yang to hear. 8 Grand Dukes. Chu Yang flipped his hand, and another ingot of gold flew out. Speaking of the situation in the Kanglan battlefront, Pa. Another ingot of gold. Have you heard of the genius young master of the Shuo clan, Shuo Duxing? Pa. An ingot of gold. Do you know the top 10 experts of the younger generation? Pa. I heard that the two brothers of the Mo clan are fighting each other fiercely. Pa. Damn it, where did this guy get so much gold from? He threw it out like a pile of mud, igniting the atmosphere of the entire restaurant. The power of gold was extraordinary. Everyone was scrambling to talk about it. But they were all very tactful. Sometimes, they would throw out a topic first, and then wait for others to finish talking about it. Often, people who did this would get a look of approval from Chu Yang, and then they would get an extra ingot of gold. As for gold, Chu Yang had a lot of it. After looting the treasury of the Great Zhao Imperial Palace, even Calamity Sword did not hesitate to absorb the power of gold. Now, he still had a lot of gold. Besides, if he really did not have money, there were so many aristocratic families in the 3 heavens. If he did not like them, he would just go in and rob them. Therefore, Chu Yang did not feel the least bit of heartache. Then, everyone found that even some rumors and anecdotes that had long since become popular, this guy was still excitedly throwing gold ingots over. This discovery made everyone wild with joy. Some people were even earning their 2nd and 3rd ingots of gold. This restaurant directly became a press conference. Later, people who wanted to come in and eat could not come in. Chu Yang even threw out a bag of gold and bought the entire wine cellar. Chu Yang also gradually straightened out his train of thought while everyone was talking excitedly as if they had been injected with chicken blood. So, the situation in the 3 heavens was like this. After the 3 Stars Divine clan had wreaked havoc for a period of time, they had encountered the joint resistance of all the forces in the 3 heavens. Now, they had somewhat restrained themselves, and retreated along the raging Fire Mountain range. From the looks of it, they seemed to have returned to their original state of minding their own business. However, the aristocratic families had already tasted the sweetness. The spirit beast cause they had obtained during this period of time, whether in terms of quality or quantity, had far surpassed what they had obtained in the past by several times. This was a huge fortune. Now, who didn't want to obtain more? The 3 Stars Divine clan had retreated, and the aristocratic families had naturally begun to fight among themselves for resources. This was a chaotic world. G-clan, Mo clan, Gao clan, Black Devil clan, Ao clan, Meng clan, Shao clan, Luo clan, Dong clan, Xie clan, Li clan, Tian clan, Tu clan, Zhao clan, Huyen clan, Ou clan, Huangfu clan, Li clan. Dozens of big clans and hundreds of small clans spanned across the entire 3 heavens. They had turned this area into a chaotic battlefield. And in this endless battle for resources, a few young experts appeared out of nowhere, revealing their outstanding talent. The Ao clan's eldest duke, Ao Xieyun, had triumphantly advanced all the way to the 4th grade of king level. He had become the indisputable number 1 person among the younger generation of the 3 heavens. Moreover, his actions were secretive, and he often did not take the usual path. But he was very effective. Therefore, people had given him the nickname Evil Duke. The Shao clan's young clan lord, Shao Duxing, had led his clan to the north and south. His strength had smoothly broken through to the 2nd grade of king level. However, he was a sword cultivator, and a 2nd grade of sword king level. This proved that his strength was above everyone else's. Therefore, he was tied with Ao Xieyun for the 1st place. Moreover, because of Shao Duxing's unique characteristics, no matter where he stood, he seemed to be aloof from the world. He was incompatible with everyone else. Therefore, people had given him the nickname Lone Traveler. The Mo clan's eldest duke, Missouri Tianyun, and the 2nd duke, Missouri Tianji, had broken through to king level at almost the same time. Mo Tianji's divine foresight was flawless, and he came up with hundreds of schemes. People called him master of calculation and manipulation. Mo Tianyun was given the nickname Tian Yun by people. He was aloof, and the limelight was unparalleled. There were no exceptions. There was also another pair of brothers who had broken through at the same time. The Ji clan's eldest duke, Ji Zhu, and the 2nd duke, Ji Mo, had broken through to king level at the same time in Kanglan battlefront. They were called the Ji clan's twin bears. Well, they were not Xiong as in hero, but Xiong as in bear. Because these 2 brothers were lazier than bears, the Dong clan's Jiang Wushong had rushed into the ranks of the experts with an unimaginable saber. He had broken through to the 1st grade of Saber King, and was given the nickname Black Saber. Since Dong Wushong's Black Saber had been born, the other sabers of the Black Saber clan could not be compared to it. Dong Wushong had also become the representative of the Dong clan. The Luo clan's eldest duke, Luo Kuwu, led the clan. However, the 2nd duke, Luo Kudi, had broken through to king level, and was called Wolf Sword King. The Xie clan's Xie Danqiong had shaken Kanglan battlefront with his viburnum flower. The viburnum flower had unparalleled power, and was called the ancestor of hidden weapons. Xie Danqiong had broken through to king level, and had become one of the leading figures of the younger generation. Other people like Tu Qianhao, Li Xiongtu, Ou Du Xiao, Meng Luo, Huangfu Wn Yan, Tian Biyu Hui, and others had also become prominent. The entire 3 heavens seemed to have entered a new era. The heroes of the younger generation were emerging one after another. The 8 great dukes were Ao Xieyun, Mo Tianyun, Shao Duxing, Dongwu Lei, Xie Danqiong, Jiao Shang, Meng Luo, and Tian Biyu Hui. And the top 10 experts were other people. Shao Duxing, Ji Mo, Luo Kudi, Dong Wushong, and these few brothers had occupied half of the top 10 expert. In short, there was only one word that could describe the current situation of the 3 heavens: chaos. These guys seemed to be doing well. Chu Yang held a wine cup in one hand, and stroked his chin with the other as he pondered in his heart. They are one of the top 10 experts and 8 great dukes. They are very awesome. As for the fight between Ji Mo and Jiao Sheng, it was even more fiery. Ji Mo had obtained the support of the Dong clan, Luo clan, and Shao clan at the same time. He wanted to snatch a tooth from the tiger's mouth, and snatch his wife away. Jiao Sheng didn't like Huyen Ao Bo, but he couldn't swallow the fact that his wife had been snatched away. Moreover, this matter involved the prestige of his clan. Therefore, Grand Duke Gao didn't want to be outdone. He joined forces with the Li clan, Tu clan, Meng clan, and several other clans to prepare for battle. Chu Yang spat out a mouthful of wine on the table when he heard such a thing. He hadn't seen Jiao Sheng before, but he had seen Huyen Ao Bo Chu Yang had experienced it himself. It wasn't a lie to say that she was a heroine, but that Miss Huyen and Ji Mo don't seem to be on good terms. Chu Yang thought of Miss Huyen's stocky back and bear's waist. She had big shoulders and a round waist. She was majestic and tall, and she was powerful and domineering. Then, he thought of Ji Mo's frail body, which was as thin as a chicken. He shook his head again and again. No matter what, he couldn't connect these two people to the same bed in his heart. That was purely a big bear ravaging a small white rabbit. Moreover, that small white rabbit was a man. Chapter 414. Do you know? That Master Ji Mo once said on the spot, it's hard to find a bosom friend in life, especially a bosom friend. What's even harder is that this bosom friend can fall in love. I, Ji Mo, have found my spring, my lover, my lover. I will fight for my love to the end. Even if Jiao Sheng is a demon, I will save my princess from the demon's hands. That dear friend used a tone of admiration to recite Ji Mo's declaration of love. Chu Yang collapsed on the spot. Because this guy had a bit of a duck's voice, imitating Ji Mo's words was somewhat different. Chu Yang directly heard it as it's hard to find a chicken in life, especially a chicken in a bosom friend. After a long while, he understood and couldn't help but choke. What a colorful life this was. Chu Yang was a little envious. Regarding the achievements of the brothers, Chu Yang wasn't surprised that Jiu Duxing and Dong Wushang could break through to the king level. But Luo Kedi and Ji Mo also broke through. That really surprised him. But there were two pieces of news that he wanted to hear the most. One was news about Mo Qingwu, and the other was news about Meng Chaoran and Tan Tan. By the time he finished collecting all this information, it was already early evening. The huge flow of information made Chu Yang's head temporarily fill up with a kind of sudden state. For a moment, he actually couldn't decide where to start. No matter what he did, he felt that it was a little rash. His brothers now didn't have his help, but each of them was doing well. If he went up and used the resources of Calamity Sword to forcefully improve them, it wouldn't be good for their future. Moreover, as long as he was there, they would have an invisible mentality of dependence. This was not good for their long-term development at all. This kind of dependence even included Jiu Duxing. That lonely person, maybe he himself also realized his dependence on Chu Yang, so he resolutely returned to the upper three heavens. He even chose to throw out the hatred of the Jiu brothers to let his heart continue to be lonely. As for Mo Qingwu, what was the attitude of the Mo clan? What were their plans? What were their thoughts? These all needed Chu Yang to slowly investigate. If he rushed in rashly, Chu Yang dared to guarantee that he would be eaten up by the old foxes of the Mo clan. The situation of the Mo clan had been reversed after Mo Tianji had come to power. But the greedy and cunning nature of those people had left a deep impression on Chu Yang, especially since Mo Qingwu was still a member of the Mo clan. This point needed to be carefully planned. The situation in the three heavens was chaotic. Where should he start? Chu Yang ate the food and wine as he pondered with rapt attention. He wanted to find his own way out of this mess. After the meal, he deliberately bought a lot of dried beef and found an opportunity to put it into the space without anyone noticing. Then, he went downstairs and walked out. The sky had already darkened. If they were looking for a place to stay, there were plenty of it here, and it was also safe. But Chu Yang didn't want to live here. He chose the forest. Every night in the mountain forest was the time when the spiritual qi was the most abundant and suitable for cultivation. In the inn, it was a little noisy, and the wine, women, avarice, and temper made the air a lot more turbid. Chu Yang didn't want to waste any of his cultivation time. Just as he walked out, he noticed that someone was following him. Chu Yang curled his lips and sneered. He swaggered out of the street and walked along the main road in a very ostentatious manner. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of clothes fluttering in the air was heard. A strange voice rang out, "The god of wealth in front, please wait." Please wait, heh. Chu Yang stopped in his tracks. In an instant, 7 or 8 people surrounded him. The 2 in the lead were the 2 people he had chased away. Young man, you have quite a lot of gold, and quite overbearing. The skinny man looked at Chu Yang eerily. You actually dared to lay your hands on us brothers. You must be tired of living. Chu Yang glanced at him coldly. Cut the crap. Tell me what you want. My time is very precious. I'm not interested in wasting time with you. The crowd parted, and a big man walked out. Young master? Heh, which clan's young master of the 3 heavens dares to be so rude in front of the Black Devil? Chu Yang's eyes narrowed. He said slowly, a king-level master? The big man snorted coldly. With an insufferably arrogant aura, he shouted, What? Are you afraid? Young man, hand over the things on your body, and then slit your own throat. I'll leave your corpse intact. His body shook, and a fierce and eerie aura spread out. In the air above his head, the aura condensed and slowly condensed into a crown. You want to kill me, right? Chu Yang asked very modestly. Don't tell me you still want to live. The king-level master of the Black Devil was clearly a second-stage martial artist. He looked at the young man in front of him with some ridicule. In his heart, the young man was already in his hands. He could do whatever he wanted with him. Very good. Chu Yang smiled faintly. I was worried that I didn't have a reason to kill you. He raised his head. People are raised by their parents. It's not easy for them to grow up. So every time I kill someone, I need a reason to kill. Congratulations, because you fit the reason for me to kill. The big man looked at Chu Yang's calm eyes. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. For the first time, he felt some regret. This guy was too evil. He didn't seem like a simple fat sheep. He should have investigated thoroughly before making his move. But he didn't have time to regret, because Chu Yang had already made his move. He had already used his killing move. A little bit of cold knowledge. Chu Yang's voice was long and slow. He unsheathed his long sword with a clang sound. His eyes instantly became sharper than the sword light. The sword light spread out with a bang sound. It carried a fierce murderous intention. It exploded in this dark night sky like a firework. A kind of fierce aura that belonged to a swordsman suddenly filled the air. That king-level master was shocked. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Jean Sword King, he was scared out of his wits. He desperately pulled out his saber to block the attack, and quickly retreated. He clearly understood that the opponent was a Sword King. Even if he was only a first-grade Sword King, he wasn't someone an ordinary second-grade king-level master like him could deal with. He even forgot about regret now. Soldiers were afraid. There was only one word left in his mind, run for your life. The sword light flashed and disappeared, but the king-level master felt a chill. In front of him, a sword as bright as snow illuminated his panicked face. He raised his head in fear, and saw Chu Yang's indifferent face. It seemed that a few lives couldn't change this face. Your Excellency, let's talk. Let's talk. The big man's forehead was sweating like soybeans. He looked at the long sword in front of him like a viper. His voice was trembling as he spoke. Bang! Bang! At this time, the 7 people who had been petrified by the sword light fell down one by one. Their throats were violently spurting out blood. However, his throat had been pierced by Chu Yang in that split second. Chu Yang had attacked without mercy. One sword had killed 7 people, and one had been restrained. You're from the Heimo clan, aren't you? Chu Yang lightly asked. His cold voice seemed to contain supreme authority. Yes. The big man felt that his hands and feet were almost numb. He had a saber in his hand, but he didn't dare to lift it. This Sword King's cultivation is so terrifying. We're both king-level masters. But I don't have any power to fight back. The long sword is pointed at my throat. Well, what's your name? Chu Yang's eyes were somewhat gentle. I'm Leader. Leader's eyes flashed with a glimmer of hope. It seems. I won't die for the time being. Leader, good name. Second-grade king-level expert, but your courage is a little putrid. Chu Yang nodded. A little putrid? Motherfucker, I'm not a putrid old man. If he coughed too loudly, there would be a bloody hole in his throat. Leader wanted to cry. He had heard from his subordinates that there was a super fat sheep. He had given away dozens of gold ingots. Moreover, he had a conflict with 2 of his subordinates. So, he had come to seek revenge. And, he had also thought that he could make a small fortune. Who would have thought that he would provoke such a killer? Here's my mother. 7 people died in a head-on clash. I'm actually a benevolent person. Chu Yang sighed in melancholy. Leader nodded again and again like a chicken pecking rice. He cursed in his heart, you killed 7 people with 1 sword strike. You didn't even blink your eyes. You're benevolent. That old man is simply a good man, but I have a deep enmity with your Heimo clan. Chu Yang sighed. Enmity? Leader's legs went soft. May I dare to ask, do you still remember the Mo clan? Chu Yang smiled coldly. You should know what you did to the Mo clan, right? Leader's complexion turned deathly pale. This man is a member of the Mo clan? His heart turned ice cold. The Heimo clan had enemies everywhere. But, the most powerful clan was undoubtedly the Mo clan. Suddenly, a clang sound was heard. Chu Yang coldly shouted, who's there? Then, a sword light flashed and pierced towards Leader. Leader desperately tried to raise his head. But, a deep cut was made on his forehead. Then, another clang sound was heard. Leader felt a sharp pain in his chest. Then, he heard the killer in front of him angrily shout, don't go if you have the gut. The sword light soared with a whooshing sound. Then, a subtle clang sound was heard. The killer had gone far away. Ancestor bless me. Leader's face was badly mutilated. He was so grateful that he almost cried. This guy was lured away at such a critical moment. He obviously wanted to kill me to silence me when he was lured away. Leader's whole body was covered in cold sweat. His face had been cut so deep that his bones could be seen. His chest had been pierced 3 times. His flesh and blood had been torn apart. But, one thing was certain. The 3 sword strikes on his chest seemed to have been obstructed by something. So, instead of piercing his heart, there was a strange upward wound. But, who saved me? Forget it. I don't want to think about this. Let's go quickly. This time, when I return to the clan, I must recuperate for a few years. It's too dangerous outside. Chapter 4:15. Well, the sudden appearance of this Mo clan's expert must be reported to the clan. It seems that the Mo clan has begun to make a move against the Black Devil. Leader crawled up in a sorry state and fled in fear. He didn't even care about the corpses of his subordinates. At this moment, Chu Yang, who had been led away by someone, was sitting cross-legged on a hillside in the forest as if nothing had happened. He was guiding the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into his body to cultivate. Who was leading him away? This guy was just deliberately mystifying things. This was a very simple move to sow discord. Moreover, the method was very clumsy. As for whether the Black Devil was plotting or not, what does it have to do with me? The 2 clans already have enmity. Even if I didn't sow discord, they would still fight to the death. However, I was just creating an excuse for them to make a move. As for whether they make a move or not, it doesn't matter. A mere 2nd grade king level master can be killed at any time. It's not a big deal. It's not a pity to let him go. Of course, it would be better if a war broke out between the 2 clans because of this. Little brother, do you have enmity with the Mo clan? A clear and elegant voice rang out. It seemed to be right next to Chu Yang's ear. Chu Yang was shocked. He suddenly felt his hair stand on end. This voice had appeared without any warning. He didn't even notice it in advance. Even a 2nd grade king level master couldn't do this. However, this person had done it. Didn't this mean that this person's martial power was far above his? Chu Yang, who was meditating, was shocked. He almost jumped up. However, he controlled himself and said indifferently, "Who is playing tricks?" A faint laughter sounded. There was a burst of dense air. A green-robed man appeared less than 30 feet in front of Chu Yang. He looked at Chu Yang with interest. Little brother's sword technique is really good. The green-robed man saw that Chu Yang's face was calm. He couldn't help but praise him. "It's you." Chu Yang's eyes flashed in the dark night. "You got me." The green-robed man was surprised. "When I was in the restaurant, you appeared a quarter of an hour behind me. When you came in, people were talking about the 8 great dukes." Chu Yang said quietly, "After you came in, you found a seat near the window. You ordered 2 vegetables, a plate of peanuts, a plate of beef, and a pot of wine. From the beginning to the end, he did not say a single word. But you only ate a few peanuts, 3 slices of beef, and half a pot of wine. And after you came in, I booked the entire restaurant, and no one else came in." Chu Yang snorted. His memory could be said to be unparalleled in the world. Moreover, in these 3 days where danger lurked at every step and the strong preyed on the weak, how could he not pay more attention? The actions of the green-clothed man had been accurately described by him. "Little brother's memory is truly admirable. You're absolutely right." The green-clothed man looked at him in surprise. It wasn't strange that he could remember him. What was strange was that he could even remember how much he had eaten and drunk. This was much more difficult. He said, "You can actually remember me, an insignificant person, in front of so many people." Chu Yang sat cross-legged and didn't move. He insipidly said, "This is nothing. The problem is, are you here to repay my kindness for a meal?" He smiled and raised his head. "The meal you ate in the restaurant was paid by me. I thought you were here to repay my favor." Little brother's memory is superb. "I didn't expect your concentration to be even more amazing." The green-clothed man sighed, seeing little brother, "I can't help but feel a sense of appreciation for talent. Tell me why you're here. You shouldn't be here to chat with me." Chu Yang smiled insipidly. When this green-clothed man appeared, he knew that this man's cultivation was far above his own. But he had a very strange feeling. This man shouldn't hurt him. This was the first time for Chu Yang to have such a feeling in his 2 lives. Chu Yang himself also found it extremely strange. "Why? Why do you think that he won't hurt you?" "Chu Yang, you aren't a moron, are you? You've never met a person before. He can crush you with 1 finger. But you're so sure that he won't hurt you the moment you meet him? You're simply crazy." But somehow, this clear feeling in his heart couldn't deceive him. So, Chu Yang's heart was conflicted. He immediately awakened the sword spirit. The sword spirit had been practicing martial arts ever since he had set up that strange formation in the tribulation space. He came out as soon as he heard Chu Yang's call. But, he was startled. "How did you provoke such a monster?" "Monster?" Chu Yang asked in astonishment in his mind. "He's indeed a monster." The sword spirit was very serious. "This man is unfathomable for you." "What about for you?" Chu Yang snorted and asked, "What's his cultivation?" "He's hiding his strength." "But, he's still a 5th grade Saber Emperor even after hiding his strength. He's already at the peak of Saber Emperor level if he doesn't hide his strength. He's about to break through to the Saber Monarch level." The sword spirit cautiously said, "But, you have to pay attention to the fact that he's carrying a sword with him. If that's the case, this person has been concealing his cultivation level for a very long time." Chu Yang understood the meaning behind the song. "Yes." The sword spirit said, "You have to be careful when dealing with him. Relax your mind at all times. If this man has evil intentions, I must take over your body and escape if necessary." Chu Yang's expression turned cold. The sword spirit's strength hadn't fully recovered yet. But, he had been able to withstand the all-out attacks of hundreds of experts from Jing Meng Hun. Moreover, he had been enhanced by that strange big formation. But, he still had to escape after taking over his body instead of killing the enemy. How powerful is this black-clothed man? The black-clothed man wrinkled his brows as this thought flashed in his mind. Just a moment ago, he clearly felt an aura that was enough to make him feel fear. It was ancient and desolate, and it faintly swept over his body. It seemed that all his disguises had nowhere to hide under this aura. This obscure aura had only flashed for a moment. But, it had still put him on guard from the bottom of his heart. "I obviously won't chat with you. But, I need your help." The black-clothed man smiled in a good-natured manner. "Aren't you curious about my identity?" "What's the use of being curious? You've changed your appearance. So, will you tell me your real identity? Chu Yang coldly snorted. Hey! Ha ha ha, you have good taste. The black-clothed man laughed. He was getting more and more interested in this youngster. He didn't know why, but he had felt a sense of familiarity towards Chu Yang since he had first seen him in the restaurant. Therefore, he had decided to appear at this time. He had become more and more appreciative of Chu Yang after coming into contact with him. His memory, willpower, courage, and manner of speaking are far superior to me. But he is neither servile nor overbearing. Even I wasn't as good as him when I was his age, right? The black-clothed man suddenly wanted to know more about this youngster. His facial expression is very similar to my own when I was young. His facial features are also somewhat similar to mine. The black-clothed man seemed to have recalled something. He couldn't help but feel pain in his heart. You didn't panic when you saw me. You didn't run away. I want to know why. The black-clothed man smiled. He sat down cross-legged in front of Chu Yang. Do I need a reason? Chu Yang's heart relaxed. He smiled and said, if you came to kill me, the difference in our cultivation is too big. I wouldn't be able to escape. So, whether I panicked or ran away in fear, it would only give you a sense of pleasure. Since you came to kill me, you are my enemy. Why should I give you a sense of pleasure? Chu Yang smiled. Even if you want to kill someone, the feeling of killing a struggling person is different from killing a hero who doesn't change his expression even when death is near. Killing a hero doesn't make the heart feel good. No matter how great the hatred is, it is still the same. This is human psychology. Since I can't escape, I'll make sure that you won't feel satisfied even if you kill me. That's my revenge on you. Why should I run away to give you a sense of pleasure? The black-clothed man laughed and said, yes. But what if I didn't come to kill you? If you didn't come to kill me, and have no hostility towards me, why should I panic and run away? Chu Yang curled his lips. The black-clothed man was stunned. This youngster's way of dealing with people is really unique. How old are you this year? The black-clothed man sighed and asked. In his heart, he thought desolately, if my son was still alive, he would be around this age. But he wouldn't have such achievements, almost 20 years old. Chu Yang raised his eyebrows. He was playing a trick with this sentence. He was 18 years old now. But, even in the entire heavenly layer, there was no one who became a sword king at the age of 18. He didn't want to be treated as a monster. Almost 20 years old gave people the illusion that he was 10 years old and would soon be 20 years old. Yes, becoming a sword king at 20 years old was also an amazing talent. But, compared to being 18 years old, the impact was much smaller. At least, the geniuses of the clans in the upper three heavens could say this. Even if he was exposed in the future, he would have a reason to explain. I said I was almost 20 years old, but I didn't say I was 10.5 years old. Is 18 years old not almost 20 years old? Not even 20 years old, so young. The black-clothed man indeed thought so. He sighed and his eyes flashed with a sense of loss. If my son was still alive, he would only be 18 years old, right? Thinking of this, he looked at Chu Yang's eyes and became calmer. This black-clothed man was Chu Fei Ling, who had come down from the upper three heavens to look for medicine. In order to make it easier to find medicine, he had chosen to come down from the nearest exit to the Kanglan battlefront. But, after coming down, he felt that something was wrong. It seemed that someone was against him. This sense of danger made him immediately react in such an unusual time. That was why he found Chu Yang. He wasn't afraid of the enemy, but he was afraid of delaying his search for medicine. Today, his thoughts were in a mess. He had written more than 13,000 words since he woke up in the wee hours of the morning. He had written several plots. But, in the end, he overturned them all and started from here. His monthly votes had finally exploded. Today was the 24th. He had updated 80 chapters so far in the second month. On average, he updated 10,000 words a day. Many brothers are still saying that I'm not awesome. I feel wronged and depressed. What should I do to be awesome? Chapter 416. Did you just say that you need my help? Chu Yang also had an inexplicable favorable impression of this blue-clothed man. However, both sides had a tacit understanding and didn't ask for each other's names. Since the other party had disguised himself, he wouldn't reveal his true appearance. Why would he tell his name? The blue-clothed man also had the same misgivings. He was being mysterious. How could he expect the other party to be honest with him? Yes, I see that you are very keen on the news of Kanglan battlefront. I think that you will definitely enter Kanglan battlefront. In that case, we might as well travel together, the blue-clothed man, Chu Fei-ling, said with a faint smile. Travel together? Chu Yang frowned. With the other party's strength, why would he travel together with him? Yes. I won't hide it from you. My journey will be very troublesome. If I travel too fast, it will attract attention. Moreover, some people will know that I came out alone. This is very inconvenient. Chu Fei-ling's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. I see. Chu Yang softly said, oh. Then, he said bluntly, however, have you ever thought that with your strength, those who can cause trouble for you are absolutely experts? If you travel with me, in case something happens, the first to suffer will be me. Of course, I have concerns about this. Chu Fei-ling obviously appreciated the other party's frankness. He said, therefore, our cooperation will stop at the Raging Fire Mountain range. Moreover, I won't let you suffer losses. I will always make you satisfied. Also, in case something happens, I have a way to protect you. In other words, I'm just a disguise. Chu Yang frowned. Yes, Chu Fei-ling said frankly. But, why did you look for me? Chu Yang wondered, there should be many people who are more suitable than me. Moreover, you can also see that I'm not a quiet person. If you follow me, my ability to cause trouble is no less than yours. Because, you are very pleasing to the eye. Chu Fei-ling smiled and thought, this is fate. I met you 3 days ago. I didn't have time to find another person. I also find you pleasing to the eye. Chu Yang laughed. Chu Fei-ling smiled warmly. Over the past 20 years, he had been under a lot of pressure. He had a lot of worries, internal and external troubles, as well as tragedies in his life. He had almost never smiled sincerely, and the knot in his heart had never been resolved. But today, he felt exceptionally relaxed. This feeling surprised him, but he hadn't felt this relaxed for a long time. He could not help but credit the young man in front of him. It was as if the young man had a power that could make him feel at ease. This kind of power made him somewhat infatuated. His heart was also very strange. This young man's first move was to kill. Blood splattered everywhere and his expression did not change at all. He was clearly a ruthless person. How could such a person make him feel at ease? But this was the truth, and it was indisputable. Well, let's travel together. Chu Yang chuckled. Well, if you run into any trouble along the way, I can also help you solve it. Chu Fei-ling's heart warmed as he said with a smile. No need. I've always solved my own troubles. Chu Yang shook his head lightly. If I need someone's help, it's not good for my future. It's also not good for my state of mind. If this becomes a habit of dependence, then I'll be stuck for life. Chu Fei-ling was startled. A look of appreciation flashed in his eyes. He was also a little surprised. I didn't expect this young man to have such a profound state of mind. It seems that this young man is very ambitious. You must have something to do in the Raging Fire Mountain range, right? Chu Yang asked intentionally. Yes, I'm looking for a kind of elixir. Chu Fei-ling sighed. He couldn't help but feel anxious when he thought of his injured father. Is it very important? Very important. Well, you're going to save a very important person, right? Yes. If that's the case, then the purpose of the enemy you're facing now is to prevent you from saving that person? Chu Yang asked indifferently. Yes, What's wrong? Chu Fei-ling looked at Chu Yang. He didn't expect this young man's thoughts to turn so quickly. Logically speaking, with your cultivation and identity, as well as the temperament of someone who holds great power, you should be surrounded by attendants no matter what you do. At the very least, you should bring a few attendants with you. However, you're all alone. Does this mean that your trip is a secret? Chu Yang frowned. Yes. But since it's a secret, someone has come to deal with you. This means that your enemy has clearly grasped your whereabouts. That means, your enemy is from the same family as you? Ah! Chu Fei-ling suddenly raised his head. Chu Yang continued his deduction. From this point of view, there must be a struggle for interests, or even a struggle for power. In other words, the injured person is very important to your clan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent an expert like you. Since you've been sent, the enemy still wants to deal with you. This can almost be said to be a bitter struggle. This is fratricidal, right? Chu Yang smiled faintly. Brilliant. Chu Fei-ling was already somewhat speechless. I didn't say anything. I only said that there's an enemy. He actually deduced so much from this little bit of information. Your aura and demeanor have a kind of natural feeling. It also gives people the feeling that you're taking care of them. This means that you're used to taking care of people. And your temperament is noble. Obviously, you're not a servant. So, you should be the boss in your clan, right? If that's the case, then, the people who want to deal with you should be your sister-in-law. Chu Yang laughed and said somewhat mockingly, in other words, you're a thorn in their side. If they get rid of you, they won't be able to get the medicine. They'll definitely die. The power of the clan will naturally fall into the hands of the person who attacked or manipulated behind the scenes. Chu Fei-ling's face turned green and then white. How many years has it been since he was this shocked? But the reasoning ability of this young man in front of him actually made him tremble in fear. He admired him from the bottom of his heart. Thinking of how cleanly he killed the enemy, he couldn't help but be shocked. This kind of martial arts, this kind of mentality, this kind of wisdom, this kind of decisiveness, that's why your eyes showed that kind of helplessness and sadness. It means that you can't make up your mind now. You're still thinking about your old relationship. Chu Yang coldly hit Chu Fei-ling's weak spot. Otherwise, your eyes would have murderous intent. But there's no murderous intent. You only want to hide and don't want to face the enemy head-on, isn't that right? Chu Fei-ling sighed deeply and didn't say anything. He did think so, then. After all, he was his own younger brother who could defy the heavens. And they're from the same mother. Since he lost his son, he paid more attention to blood ties. But now that things have developed to this point, he really didn't have the slightest intention to do anything to his brother other than being heartbroken. So, even if you find the elixir, you'll die in your brother's hands sooner or later. Chu Yang said lightly, since you're soft-hearted, but your brother still wants to kill you, I can only say that your brother has lost his humanity. So, death is not to be regretted. Being soft-hearted is a taboo in power. You're the elder. Don't ruin the whole clan's future because of a moment of soft-heartedness. You have to know that if you want to kill, you won't kill your own brother. You'll save the whole clan. Chu Yang said lightly, it's late. Rest early. We'll start our journey early tomorrow morning. After saying this, he closed his mouth and didn't speak anymore. Chu Yang taught Chu Fei-ling a lesson for the first time they met. Maybe it couldn't be considered a lesson. He was just speculating. But it was undeniable that he was right. Chu Yang also regretted saying these words too late. He felt that he had said too much. How could he speak like this for the first time they met? But for some reason, when he saw the sadness and helplessness in Chu Fei-ling's eyes, Chu Yang couldn't help but feel an impulse in his heart. Moreover, he felt very anxious and wanted to help him overcome some difficulties. This feeling is really strange. Chu Yang closed his eyes and smiled bitterly in his heart. Do all Emperor-level experts have this kind of temperament that makes people unconsciously fall in love with them? When an ordinary person cultivates to Emperor-level experts, their temperament will indeed change. If he wants you to have a good impression of him, it's very easy. The sword spirit explained softly in Chu Yang's mind, the aura of an Emperor-level expert can already affect a person's mind and judgment. It'll be even more obvious when he reaches monarch level. I see. Chu Yang quietly let out a sigh of relief. He felt a little relieved. He was even more determined to temper his mind. The sword spirit was a little hesitant. There was something he didn't say. Although all Emperor-level experts have this kind of ability, The person in front of you clearly didn't use this kind of method on you. But when he saw that Chu Yang was relieved, he didn't remind him anymore. It's now the third day. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth will be denser. But you have to pay attention to one thing. The path of tribulation sword master starts from the third day. Chu Yang, what are you going to do? The sword spirit was, of course, most concerned about this topic. So he immediately brought it up. The path of tribulation sword master? Chu Yang pondered for a while. What do I need to do? Conquer. The sword spirit said solemnly. Conquer all the forces you can see. Build up your team, and prepare to rush to the upper three heavens in one fell swoop. You'll become a dragon. Build up my team. Conquer the upper three heavens. Chu Yang repeated softly. He felt his heart beat fiercely. Yes, the upper three heavens will be yours. You'll have to rely on your team to overthrow the upper three heavens in the future, because if you go to the upper three heavens, the big ruling clans there will be your enemies, and the entire upper three heavens will be under the control of that clan. You'll be the enemy of the whole world. No one can help you. You can only rely on the ambitions of the clans in the upper three heavens. Chapter 4:17. Chu Yang's body shook. He thought quickly. Especially the word replace, these words kept circling in his mind. The ambition of using the three heavens clans to rush to the upper three heavens. Chu Yang sneered and said, this is very unreliable. The martial kings of the upper three heavens can be said to be experts at present. The big clans don't have many emperor-level expert. But the one in front of us has such a cultivation level. He's an emperor-level expert. So, how many monarch-level and saint-level experts are there in the big clans? How can the three heavens clans replace him with their insignificant strength? Every generation of the big clans has the ambition to rush to the upper three heavens. But they don't dare to show it. Do you think that these clans with thousands of years of history only have so little heritage? Sword Spirit snorted and said, how many real experts would come out and run around? Wouldn't that be asking the upper three heavens ruling clans to come down and destroy them? But the Jiyu clan failed to rush to the emperor level. So, they imprisoned the clan lord's daughter, Jiyu Miaoling. Moreover, the Jiyu clan doesn't have any emperor-level experts. This is certain. Chu Yang firmly believed Jiyu Duxing's words. After all, Jiyu Duxing had no reason to lie to him. How many years has the Jiyu clan existed? Sword Spirit said disdainfully, what's so strange about a clan that has only existed for a few hundred years or even a few decades? You'll find out how big the resistance is when you start to conquer, Sword Spirit said slowly, but you also need to know that the greater the resistance, the greater the motivation. Is this how the previous master of the tribulation sword did it? Chu Yang frowned. Those who follow me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. Sword Spirit said indifferently, this is the path of the master of the tribulation sword. He paused and said, your temperament is enough. You've been through enough hardships. You have the means and wisdom. The only thing you lack is this tyrannical attitude of those who follow me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. Making use of the big clan's ambitions. Chu Yang's eyes flashed. He let out a long sigh. Then, his entire mind was immersed in those 8 words. Those who follow me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. Facing the experts of the upper 3 heavens with such a tyrannical attitude? What kind of spirit was this? Chu Yang just sat there like this. He thought about the heroic bearing of the previous master of Tribulation Sword. That kind of domineering demeanor in the world. He couldn't help but feel lofty sentiments surging in his heart. The calamity sword in his dantian also seemed to be affected by this atmosphere. Suddenly, with a clang, it churned in his dantian. A cold aura came out of the tip of the sword and rushed into Chu Yang's dantian like lightning. It moved along his meridians and circled around in an instant. Chu Yang felt as if his meridians were being severed and fragmented at this moment. An extreme pain suddenly triggered a violent and ruthless aura. He almost looked up to the sky and let out a long and loud roar. Startled, he abruptly channeled the heaven-splitting divine technique to the maximum, forcing the violent chi from the calamity sword back into his dantian. With a move of his mind, a clear divine sense was sent back sternly. I want to conquer. That's my business. I don't need to be controlled by a sword. I want to conquer the heavens with my own strength. Using his own strength, to conquer the heavens. Those who obey me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. The sword spirit in his mind sighed. He didn't know if it was praise or something else. No wonder the previous master of Tribulation Sword was like this. He was completely different from the previous 8 masters of Tribulation Sword. He would use the Calamity Sword, but he wouldn't let it dominate everything. No matter how strong the Calamity Sword was, he wouldn't blindly believe in its power. He only believed in his own strength. Thinking of this, the sword spirit suddenly had an epiphany. Perhaps this is the real Calamity Sword Master, because he truly dominated the Calamity Sword. Although the previous 8 masters of Tribulation Sword were powerful, they all relied on the power of the Calamity Sword. They used the power of the Calamity Sword to conquer, but Chu Yang was different. He would use it, but he wouldn't lose himself. So, the one who overturned the heavens in this generation was the master of Tribulation Sword, not the Calamity Sword. This was the fundamental difference. At this moment, a biting cold aura suddenly rose from Chu Yang's body. An incomparably domineering aura was emitted from his body. Those who obey me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die. In such a short period of time, he had already comprehended this kind of quintessence. The sword spirit sighed and silently returned to the calamity space. He was suddenly full of expectations for the future. Maybe this unique master of Tribulation Sword can help me break free from the shackles of the Calamity Sword and become a real spiritual body. Can I live in broad daylight? Chu Yang was practicing martial arts, but Chu Filing was deep in thought. He was thinking about what Chu Yang said. He had to admit that Chu Yang's words were very reasonable. How could Chu Filing not know that the consequences would be unimaginable if he continued to indulge in this? But he had his own grievances. Because he was the first successor, but he didn't have any children. He had lost his sons and hadn't found them yet. The difference between him and his second brother was that he had 3 sons to continue the Chu clan's bloodline. If he used his thunderous means, how could his second brother be his opponent? But his third brother's 2 sons were weak and didn't have good aptitudes. His fourth brother's daughter was sick all year round. His son was still young and might not grow up well. In the clan, the rising stars were his second brother's 3 sons. If he defeated his second brother, what would happen to the Chu clan in the future? Would he be wronged? Would he want the Chu clan to have no successors? Then, he thought about all these years. Ever since he lost his son, his wife had been depressed. He didn't even dare to visit his father-in-law. Every time he went, he would be scolded, useless. You can even lose your own son. Why don't you lose yourself? Every time this happened, Chu Filing would be in a tragedy. His father-in-law's face was darker than the bottom of a pot. His mother-in-law's eyes were filled with tears. In the end, it would definitely develop into a headache between mother and daughter. Alas. Chu Filing sighed deeply. Sometimes, he really wanted to roar, damn it, do I really want to lose my son so badly? He's also my own son. My own flesh and blood. I'm not inhumane. Isn't there no other way? At that time, both of them were dying. They knew that they would definitely die. They temporarily left their son to lead the enemy away so that he could have a chance to live. Who would have thought that he would encounter an elixir in such a hopeless situation and be saved? What was even more unexpected was that, in just half a day, he ran back as if he was struggling for his life and disappeared. Who can be blamed for this? We can only blame the heavens for making fun of us. I can't even cry here. How can I be better than you? Of course, these words were suppressed in my heart for 18 years. I didn't dare to say it out loud. I could only sulk in my heart. I was so depressed that I went to look for my 4th brother. Chu Filing kept sighing. He looked at Chu Yang more and more softly. Alas, if I can find my son, even if he's a beggar now, I'll treat him like a treasure. I'll use all my heart to make up for my poor son's 18 years of suffering. The dignified young master of the Chu clan actually suffered such hardships. Now, I don't know if he's dead or alive. The night passed quietly. When it was almost dawn, Chu Filing suddenly felt a throbbing in his heart. He stood up abruptly and saw a sudden boom from Chu Yang's body. A tyrannical aura burst out from his body. It was as if the ruler of the firmament had suddenly arrived at this moment. This aura was cold and emotionless. It was filled with the aura of a superior who had absolute power over life and death. It was as if he was telling the world, "Those who follow me will prosper. Those who go against me will die." At the same time, the aura on Chu Yang's body surged. Suddenly, sword energy spread out. It was shapeless and formless, but it burst out with a kai-kai sound. Thud, thud, thud. The surrounding trees and rocks were hit by the sword energy at the same time. Stone fragments flew everywhere. Small holes suddenly appeared in the trunk of a large tree. Both sides of the tree were transparent. This was caused by the sword energy penetrating through them. Thousands of sword marks appeared on the ground 30 feet in front of Chu Yang. He broke through? Chu Filing was shocked. This young man is really a genius. He actually comprehended the tyrannical tactics in one night. He used the tyrannical tactics in his dantian and turned his spiritual energy into sword energy. He broke through to the second grade of Sword King in one go. Tyrannical tactics was a kind of aura, not a kind of martial technique. Only an absolute superior, and one who had gone through a bloody massacre, could develop this kind of absolute confidence. Chu Yang had been probing since last night. Chu Fei Ling had also sensed the aura on his body several times. But he really didn't expect that Chu Yang would completely comprehend it in one night. Chu Yang even transformed his aura into sword energy, and directly used sword energy to break through. This was simply crazy behavior, but he succeeded. The sky slowly brightened. Chu Yang slowly got up. The two looked at each other. Chu Yang saw that Chu Filing's eyes were full of concern. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. He said, "It's okay. It's just a small breakthrough." Chu Filing nodded speechlessly. "A small breakthrough? Brother, you've broken through to Sword King. It's the most difficult weapon to break through in the entire heavenly layer. Let's go." Chu Yang smiled. The two walked out of the hillside side by side. They rushed all the way. Their footsteps were extremely fast. They were at the edge of the war zone. There was no one around. The two used their martial techniques and ran all the way. They encountered some small troubles on the way. But Chu Filing didn't have to do anything. Chu Yang solved them all. The few spirit beasts that they encountered were also slaughtered by Chu Yang. Chu Filing could feel that Chu Yang was gradually honing his gains from this breakthrough. So, he tried his best not to interfere. He only followed. He felt gratified in his heart. It was as if he was watching his younger generation grow up healthily. They finally arrived at the raging fire mountain range. The hot aura hit them in the face. They looked to the east. Half the sky seemed to have been dyed red. "This is the place, right?" Chu Yang asked. "Yes." Chu Filing smiled gently. He was a little reluctant to part with Chu Yang. "Hehe, big brother Chu, you've been very slow. You've made us wait for you." A gloomy voice sounded with some complacency. "Did you think that we'd intercept you on the way? We've been waiting for you at ease. I don't know if it's beyond your expectations." 8 black-clothed masked men appeared with a swish sound. Their imposing aura was as deep as a mountain. It seemed as if the blue sky had collapsed. Chapter 4:18. Are these Emperor-level experts? Chu Yang quivered as he looked at the 8 black-clothed men in front of him. He felt a cold wind blow at the back of his head. Crap. When did Emperor-level experts appear in the upper 3 heavens? A clear whistling sound was heard. The 8 men parted to 2 sides, and a black-clothed man appeared. His feet didn't touch the ground as he walked forward. He crossed the 8 men, and arrived at the front of the team. He put his hands behind his back, and took a few steps in a confident manner. Then, he flicked his sleeves, and a metallic sound was heard. He smiled faintly and said, "Brother Chu, do you recognize me?" His voice was clear and elegant like a mountain stream. The corners of Chu Yang's mouth twitched as he looked at him. This person's pretentiousness has reached the extreme. His every move is pretentious. It's at the peak of perfection. His face is covered. But, he still asked, "Do you recognize me?" Chu Yang really wanted to say, "I'll recognize you if you take off your mask." Chu Feiling's face looked serious. He sighed and said, "Are you Brother Yi?" The black-clothed masked man put his hands behind his back, and laughed in a cold and mournful voice. "Ha ha ha ha, Brother Chu is indeed worthy of being called Brother Chu. Ha 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 ha, I'm sure Brother Chu must be very surprised to see me here." Chu Feiling took a deep breath. His eyes flashed as he said, "I'm indeed very surprised. Very surprised." He looked at the black-clothed masked man with a serious face and said, "Brother Yi, your clan dominates the upper three heavens. It's the indisputable #1 clan. I also respect your clan. So, I don't dare to neglect it. But, I don't know why Brother Yi has come here today." That Brother Yi laughed and said, "Brother Chu, don't tell me you don't know why I've come here." Chu Feiling sighed and said, "I don't want to be enemies with the Yi clan. Brother Yi, why do you have to get involved in this mess? Why do you have to make things difficult for me?" Chu Yang felt a chill in his heart. So, this black-clothed masked man is from the Yi clan, the #1 clan of the upper three heavens? He suddenly recalled the sorrow hidden in Meng Chao Rant's indifferent eyes. Then, a name appeared in his mind, Yi Chu Chen. Isn't Yi Chu Chen from the Yi clan? This man is a third-grade emperor-level expert. The sword spirit's voice sounded in his mind. The other 8 people are third-grade emperor-level expert. It should be the Yi clan's secluded night ultimate array. This array formation is very difficult to deal with. Secluded night unique formation? Chu Yang frowned and said, "Is it very powerful?" This is a powerful formation left behind by the previous master of Calamity Sword for the Yi clan. The sword spirit replied in a heavy tone, "A first-grade emperor-level expert is enough to trap and kill a first-grade monarch-level expert. Don't you think it's amazing?" Fuck. Chu Yang felt a toothache. Doesn't this mean that today's danger is huge? The black-clothed and masked Brother Yi let out a wild laugh like an owl. "You don't want to be enemies with our Yi clan? Ha ha ha. Who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of being our Yi clan's enemy?" Chu Feiling sighed. His face suddenly regained its calmness. He gently untied the scabbard from his waist and held it horizontally in his hand. His right hand held the sword hilt as he said lightly, "Brother Yi, do you want to fight me to the death today?" Ha ha ha. "Brother Chu, you're gravely mistaken." Brother Yi laughed strangely and said, "What do you think? I don't want to fight you to the death. I want you to die for sure." Brother Yi let out a wild laugh. Chu Feiling remained silent for a long while. Then, he said, "Yi Ran Mo, I'm afraid you can't do this with your ability." The black-clothed man Yi Ran Mo said with a smile, "Yes. My strength is almost on par with Brother Chu's. But, my brother and I are going to attack together this time. Brother Chu, how much hope do you think you have?" Chu Feiling smiled faintly. "How much hope do I have? We'll have to fight to know. However, I have a request." "What request?" Chu Feiling pointed his finger and said, "You and I may not be kind. But, this youngster is innocent. Let him go. And, I'll fight you to the death." Chu Yang's body shook. He could feel the care and concern in these words. And, it made his heart soften and tremble. Ha, it wouldn't be a big deal to let him go if it were any other time. But, now. Yi Ran Mo smiled and said in a sinister manner, "He's with Brother Chu. And, I don't know what he has on him. So, it would be very bad if I missed something." He shrugged his shoulders and said in a very artificial and regretful tone, "Brother Chu, please forgive me. I'll have to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots." Chu Feiling got angry and shouted, "Yi Ran Mo, your Yi clan has interfered in my clan's affairs. And, you've violated the rules. Now, you want to kill an innocent person. Don't you care about the 10,000-year prestige of your Yi clan? Innocent? Haha, he's not innocent as long as he's with you." Yi Ran Mo coldly snorted. He waved his hand, and the 8 black-clothed men scattered. They formed a big circle like 8 wisps of black smoke. Yi Ran Mo laughed heartily. He then took a step back. His aura suddenly became impeccable. It seemed as if his soul had been formed by the heavens. He surrounded Chu Yang and Chu Fei Ling in the middle. Chu Fei Ling heaved a long sigh. He was extremely resentful in his heart. I didn't expect that my second brother would seek refuge with the Yi clan in order to deal with me. He regretted it at the same time. Why would I have asked this youngster to accompany me if I had known that the other party was waiting for me in the Raging Fire mountain range? It seems that this young expert with a boundless future has been implicated by me. And he's going to lose his life for no reason. Little brother, I've implicated you, Chu Fei Ling said guiltily. Then, he suddenly raised his eyes and whispered, "Don't move when the battle starts. I'll open a gap and send you out with all my strength." His voice was low and hurried. "Don't look back after you go out. Leave this place at your fastest speed. I'll pin them down, and won't let them catch up with you." Chu Yang turned his head, and said with a smile, "I'll remember." Chu Fei Ling nodded with gratification. Suddenly, a sandstorm arose. A person suddenly spun around, and started to run around Chu Fei Ling and Chu Yang. Then, this person's figure transformed into a breeze in a flash. The entire sky seemed to have turned black with a whoosh sound. The power of a level Emperor-level expert had also shielded the sky above the battlefield. The 2 men's escape routes had been blocked. Then, that whirlwind-like power began to slowly draw closer to the ground. A snow-bright lightning suddenly appeared. It was a saber light that looked like a waterfall. Chu Fei Ling shouted loudly, and brandished his long sword. Ding, 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 ding sounds echoed. Chu Fei Ling's sword and that saber light had collided countless times in the blink of an eye. A faint muffled groan was heard from the gale. Then, a lightning-like saber light appeared at the same time, and crazily attacked the 2 men in the center. Yi Ran Mo's complacent laughter resounded amidst the intensive attacks. "Brother Chu, this Yi has admired Brother Chu's head for a long time. Give me your life." Chu Fei Ling's body turned into a wisp of green smoke, and continued to revolve around Chu Yang. All the attacks were blocked by him alone. Chu Yang didn't reply when he heard this. He only concentrated on dealing with the attacks. The sound of the wind became more and more mournful, and resounded throughout the world. The attacks became more and more intensive, and crazier. Chu Yang couldn't even see the silhouette of a person with his eyesight. He couldn't even see Chu Fei Ling's figure. He could only see a vast expanse of black smoke pervading the sky and the ground. But there was a reassuring green light screen beside him. It had blocked all the attacks without retreating a single step. Chu Yang suddenly had a feeling in his heart. "I'll be fine even if the sky falls down as long as this green shadow is here." Chu Yang had also finally felt the might of a true Emperor-level expert. "I can't even see the attacks clearly. How many moves can I deal with if I were in his place? This is the power of a formation," Sword Spirit slowly said, "but this person will soon be forced to reveal his true strength." "Oh!" Chu Yang simply closed his eyes, and used his divine sense to sense it. Brother Chu's cultivation is indeed world-shocking. However, how many times can this sword withstand Brother Chu's attacks? How many times can it defend? That sinister and wild laughter resounded again. Then, the saber lights became even denser. The ding-ding-ding-ding sounds of collisions were so dense that they seemed to connect together. Suddenly, a loud bang was heard. Chu Fei Ling fiercely shouted, and the sword light transformed into little cold stars. Then, it flew out in all directions like lightning. "Come on!" everyone shouted in unison. A loud bang was heard, and the scene suddenly fell into silence. Chu Fei Ling's green robe fluttered in the wind. He stood in place, and the figures of the other people also appeared at the same time. They were still standing in a big circle. Everyone's eyes were shining as they looked at Chu Fei Ling. Chu Fei Ling's hand only had a broken sword that was riddled with scars and looked like a sawtooth. His sword had been broken. "Brother Chu, you're a 5th grade Emperor-level expert." This he didn't expect that Brother Chu would be able to withstand the first wave of attacks. "It's really beyond my expectations." Yi Ran Mo strangely laughed. There are many things beyond your expectations. Chu Fei Ling calmly said, Yi Ran Mo, you'll find that you'll be even more beyond your expectations. Chu Yang also felt happy in his heart. 5th grade Emperor level expert? It seems that this Yi Ran Mo only regards Brother Chu as a 5th grade Emperor level expert. He doesn't know the true strength of the other party. This matter is very interesting. At the same time, Chu Yang was also thinking about how he could help. My cultivation isn't enough to deal with such a high-level battle. It seems that the strength of the green-robed man is very strong. Even if it's beyond the enemy's expectations, the enemy's secluded night array isn't to be trifled with. Sooner or later, the enemy will be able to trap him inside and kill him. Chu Yang's eyes flickered as he carefully pondered. Oh, is that so? It's a pity. Brother Chu, your sword is broken. Yi Ran Mo mischievously laughed. Brother Chu, don't tell me that you still want to resist stubbornly. Chapter 419. Ha ha ha. Yi Ran Mo laughed wildly. I want to see how Brother Chu will make me break first. Then, he suddenly shouted, break him for me. Chu Fei Ling and Chu Yang roared at the same time. They held their long sabers in front of their chests, and suddenly moved. It seemed as if Chu Yang and Chu Fei Ling were in the middle of a mountain of sabers. The saber light flashed, and a solid mountain of sabers chopped down from the front. The saber light flashed again, and another mountain of sabers fell down with a loud bang. The saber light flashed again and again. This mountain of sabers attacked from multiple directions at the same time. The power of this attack was more than twice as powerful as the previous one. The saber light crisscrossed like a waterfall in a crisscross pattern. Chu Fei Ling looked up to the sky and roared. He looked at Chu Yang with a profound look in his eyes. His tall and straight body remained motionless. This mountain of sabers was approaching him at the same time. Chu Fei Ling suddenly patted his waist with his hand. A clanging sound was heard, and a bluish-green saber light shot out from his waist. The peak-grade saber emperor had finally taken out his trump card for the first time. Chu Fei Ling had felt the undercurrent surging ever since he had gone missing 18 years ago. So, he had deliberately concealed his strength since then. But, he had finally burst out with his full strength today. The bluish-green saber light descended from the sky like a swimming dragon. It seemed as if it had opened up a passage in this area of shining saber light. A series of 3 stuffy groans were heard, and a blood-red light appeared with a whizzing sound. Chu Fei Ling's figure flashed, and arrived beside Chu Yang like a wisp of smoke. Then, he grabbed Chu Yang's waist with his left hand without any hesitation. Chu Yang felt as if he was flying on the clouds the next moment. Chu Fei Ling's body flew up after him. The bluish-green saber light broke through the dense saber curtain in the sky, and soared 300 feet into the sky. Then, Chu Fei Ling's figure fiercely rotated, and kicked the soles of Chu Yang's feet. Chu Yang felt as if 10,000 giants had suddenly pushed him under his feet. His body flew forward at the speed of light. A kai-kai sound was heard, and it was followed by a pa-pa sound. Chu Fei Ling's black robe emitted smoke at a speed visible to the naked eye. His black robe was set ablaze due to the intense friction with the air at such a high speed. Chu Fei Ling's throw and kick could send Chu Yang several thousand feet away. No wonder Chu Fei Ling was not in a hurry all this while. He was waiting for an opportunity to give the enemy the greatest shock and the greatest injury. When that time came, he would send Chu Yang out. Then, he would be able to hold the enemy back and let Chu Yang escape safely. No matter what happens to me, Chu Yang will not die. Chu Yang flew out, but Chu Fei Ling's body landed on the ground. A furious voice sounded, "Damn it! I always thought that he was a martial emperor. I never expected him to be a saber emperor. You with the surname Chu, you've really hidden yourself well." Chu Fei Ling didn't utter a single word. Instead, a bluish-green saberlight suddenly flew up, and sprinkled down an earth-shattering saberlight. Chu Fei Ling had unexpectedly switched from defense to offense in the face of the besiegement of this saber emperor's ultimate formation. The moment the saberlight appeared, it shrouded the enemy like a heavenly curtain. Everyone let out a strange cry at the same time. They felt a great humiliation. They had besieged one person with their individual strength. Moreover, they had used the secluded night ultimate formation to double their individual strength. But 3 of them had been injured in the blink of an eye. Moreover, they had been sent out safely by the person they were supposed to protect. Moreover, they had been forced to gasp for breath by the enemy's offensive. What kind of extraordinary shame and humiliation was this? Don't worry about that little bastard. Let's gather our strength and chop Chu Fei Ling into minced meat first. Yi Ran Mo was so angry that his face behind the mask had turned purple. Chu Fei Ling's heart relaxed. He laughed and said, Yi Ran Mo, as long as you have the ability, this Chu will accompany you at any time. He knew that the enemy could have suppressed him if they had joined forces. In fact, he might have been buried here today if he hadn't handled things properly. However, he felt that it had been worth it after he had sent Chu Yang out. His bluish-green shadow flickered as he madly attacked. Chu Fei Ling revealed his true cultivation as a saber emperor at this time. It seemed as if he held the saber in his hand. It was glorious and dazzling as it moved horizontally and vertically. Kill him! Yi Ran Mo crazily shouted. Start the 3rd stage of the formation, soul extermination. The man shouted, and the saber light flourished. The blazing white light slowly suppressed Chu Fei Ling's bluish-green saber light. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard from afar, Don't worry. I'll deliver the things you've given me to the upper 3 heavens. Take care of yourself. I'm sure we'll meet again. It was Chu Yang's voice. Even the sword spirit in Chu Yang's mind couldn't help but give him a thumbs up when Chu Yang shouted this. The secluded night ultimate formation, as its name implied, could only display its greatest power when 2 people were together. It wouldn't be an ultimate formation if one person was missing. Even a monarch-level expert would have no choice but to return to heaven after the formation of the ultimate formation had been completed. Previously, the sword spirit had also thought about what would happen if he tailor-made a divine saber for Chu Fei Ling. However, he also knew that even if he had an additional divine weapon, it would be of no use in this place of absolute danger. However, Chu Yang's shout had taken drastic measures. Firstly, he was already far away from the battlefield. If they wanted to chase him, they had to break the formation. Secondly, they had no choice but to chase him after he had shouted this the 9th of February, 25. Even if they had to force him, they had to force him to come out. Chu Fei Ling wasn't a match for this person if they worked together. However, it wouldn't be difficult for Chu Fei Ling to defeat them one by one. At the very least, it wouldn't be a problem for both sides to suffer or escape. Chu Yang knew that Chu Fei Ling's predicament had been resolved. He heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. From the conversation between the 2 parties, he could tell that this big brother Chu was probably from the Chu clan of the upper 3 heavens. In other words, there was a high possibility that he was his own family. Maybe it's my uncle, or my biological father? Who knew? Anyway, he was such a person. But no matter what, he couldn't let him die here today. Even if he wasn't sure if he was from the Chu clan, even if he hadn't decided whether to acknowledge his ancestors, he had to save him. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Therefore, Chu Yang had made up his mind. No matter what, he had to intervene in this matter. At the very least, he had to help Chu Fei Ling get through this crisis. Chu Yang's voice came from afar. Everyone was startled. The 10 people who were fighting in the melee almost simultaneously moved their sabers. They dodged in a hurry and then froze in place. Then, this little bastard. The 10 people scolded at the same time. Everyone, including Chu Fei Ling, was gnashing their teeth. Yi Ran Mo and the others hadn't expected that Chu Fei Ling would make such a move. So, they all became apprehensive. Even if we can kill Chu Fei Ling, the little bastard will bring the things and the news to the Chu clan of the upper 3 heavens. Then, it will trigger a strong backlash from the Chu clan. Although the Yi clan was strong and they weren't afraid, and the Chu clan couldn't be compared to the Yi clan at all. However, the Tribulation Sword's master had grown rapidly. The entire upper 3 heavens was waiting for him. They were trying their best to avoid trouble. It was inevitable that they would be blamed by their clans. After all, Dealing with Chu Fei Ling had to be done in secret. It couldn't be done openly. If this matter was exposed, a storm would be inevitable. This person wasn't an important person in the Yi clan. It was possible that the Yi clan would push someone out to take the blame if things got out of hand. Everyone's eyes revealed an ominous glint as they thought of this. Chu Fei Ling was burning with anxiety. You said you'd leave, so you'd leave? What's the point of shouting world-defying heavens? You may think that a few thousand feet is very far. But a few thousand feet is nothing in the eyes of an emperor-level expert. He can catch you in the blink of an eye. However, Chu Fei Ling also knew that Chu Yang had done this for his own good. He wanted to send a few people to chase after Chu Yang. But he wouldn't be in any danger once the formation was broken. He wasn't a match for Chu Yang. But he could still attack and escape. But the idea is good. I won't be in any danger. But Chu Yang will definitely die. A second-grade king-level expert. Even a sword king can't block a blow from a saber emperor. Let alone a third-grade saber emperor. This little bastard is using his life to exchange for mine. Chu Fei Ling thought of this. He was anxious and moved at the same time. Little brother, thank you for your kindness. But you'd better leave quickly. You don't have to get involved in this matter, Chu Fei Ling shouted. His meaning was very simple. Tell Chu Yang that you should leave quickly. Also, tell Yi Ran Mo and the others he's lying. Don't believe him. But what kind of person is Yi Ran Mo? Yi Ran Mo had stood out in the struggle of Zhenghu step by step. And he had relied on his paranoia and ruthlessness. Especially, this matter involved such an important matter at this time. So, he would rather believe it than not. So, how could he believe Chu Fei Ling's words and give up on chasing Chu Yang? That was absolutely impossible. Old man, the 8 of us will stay here to kill Chu Fei Ling. You go and bring back that little bastard's head. Yi Ran Mo made a prompt decision and ordered. Yes. That old man flew out. Chu Fei Ling roared, and the saber light suddenly rose sharply. But Yi Ran Mo and the others joined forces and stood behind the black-clothed old man to block Chu Fei Ling's crazy offensive. Go quickly and come back quickly. Yi Ran Mo waved his saber like rain as he hurriedly said, kill that little bastard at the fastest speed. Then, come back to the formation and kill Chu Fei Ling. Yes. The black-clothed old man fiercely jumped up. His saber light danced in the air and transformed into a startling rainbow. He then chased after Chu Yang. Chu Fei Ling had suddenly erupted a moment ago and had injured 3 people. The black-clothed old man was one of them. Yi Ran Mo had deliberately sent him to kill Chu Yang. He wanted him to take advantage of this time to rest. After all, how long could a third-grade saber emperor take to deal with a mere king-level expert? Chapter 420. Yi Ran Mo laughed strangely and said, Brother Chu, don't waste your time. Do you think that a mere king-level expert can escape the pursuit of an emperor-level expert? However, Brother Chu, it's been many years since I've seen you so flustered. Don't tell me that little girl is someone very important to you. Chu Fei Ling shouted angrily, bullshit. However, he also felt a little emotional. How many years has it been? How many years had it been since he had been so furious? The last time he was so furious was when his son went missing. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel a sharp pain in his heart. If he died here today, even if his son was eventually found, he would never be able to see him again. Ha ha ha. Brother Chu, I heard that your son has gone missing. Could it be that this little guy? Ha ha ha, he looks very similar to you. Brothers, I didn't think that we would be able to kill the eldest brother of the Chu clan today. Yi Ran Mo laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. The other 7 people laughed at the same time. Nonsense. That little brother has nothing to do with me. Chu Fei Ling became furious. Yi Ran Mo, don't wrongly accuse the innocent. Nothing. Yi Ran Mo put on a fake smile as he said, he's innocent. And he's not your son. So, why are you so anxious? Chu Fei Ling snorted angrily. Suddenly, a saber light flashed, and a dense green saber light hacked out in a continuous manner. Yi Ranmo raised his saber to parry. The two sabers collided with a loud bang, and sparks flew in all directions. Yi Ranmo's body suddenly swayed, and his face exposed a surprised look. He could feel that Chu Feiling's cultivation was much higher than his own. Before he could regain his senses, another saber slashed down. Yi Ranmo once again blocked with his saber. He then retreated a step. However, the third saber strike had already arrived. Chu Feiling's face was ghastly pale after being illuminated by the saber light. He was filled with murderous intent. Murderous intent filled the air. Chu Feiling hated Yi Ranmo to the extreme at this moment. No matter what, he had to cut this person down with his saber. Yi Ranmo repeatedly blocked the blade. His complexion had already turned deathly pale, and he shouted loudly, "Attack together." Needless to say, the other 7 people didn't stay idle either. They attacked one after another. At this moment, a long howl came from afar. It was Chu Yang's voice. "Ha ha ha, we've already caught up," Yi Ranmo said with a sinister smile as blood trickled down from the corners of his mouth. Chu Feiling's heart was burning with anxiety. Suddenly, he slashed out thousands of times in a row in an instant. The saber light then gathered into a light curtain. With a strange sound, he and his saber turned into an invincible and bright light beam. He rushed out of the encirclement without any resistance. A black-clothed man screamed. His body spun and flew out of the encirclement. Every time his burly body spun in the air, a circle of blood spilled out. Chu Feiling also paid the price. With a muffled groan, his back was slashed, and blood spurted out. However, Chu Feiling didn't seem to feel anything. He became one with his saber and shouted. Then, he rushed madly toward the place where the long howl had come from. "Chase after him!" Yi Ranmo fiercely roared. "I would rather die than let Chu Yang stay here forever. If we let him go back, sooner or later, he will become a great threat to our Yi clan." He had spoken these words from the bottom of his heart. Chu Feiling was more than 20 years younger than him. Yi Ranmo had always thought that Chu Feiling was at most on par with him. The news from the Chu clan had said that Chu Feiling was only a 5th-grade martial emperor. However, he had realized that the rumors were poles apart from the reality after today's battle. Chu Feiling's strength is obviously much stronger than mine. He's at least a 7th or 8th grade saber emperor. Chu Feiling has been hiding his strength for so many years. His mind and cultivation are extremely frightening. If such a person is allowed to live and grow. Moreover, I've already formed a deadly enmity with him today. What is he if he isn't a great threat? Yi Ranmo crazily scolded someone in his heart as he thought of this. Chu Feilong, you motherfucker, aren't you cheating me? You were the one who reported the news. You were the one who provided the whereabouts. You were the one who provided the information. You said that your elder brother is only a 5th-grade martial emperor. My fucking 5th-grade martial emperor. I believed it. But, I still dispatched 8 3rd-grade saber emperors to be safe. Moreover, I personally led the team. Who would have thought that your elder brother is a terrifying 8th-grade saber emperor? You've cheated me to death. My chest is still in great pain because of your 5th-grade martial emperor elder brother. Motherfucker. My internal organs have been injured by the shock. Motherfucker. Yi Ranmo prayed in his heart. Elder, my dear elder, hurry up and take care of that little bastard. Let's get rid of Chu Feiling together. Otherwise, I'm really going to be in trouble. Chu Yang shouted. Then, he felt that the air behind him was violently vibrating. He turned his head, and saw a black-clothed man rushing towards him at an extremely fast speed. Motherfucker, Chu Yang shouted. He turned around, and fled in all directions. The black-clothed man looked at Chu Yang who was running around in a panic. He exposed a cruel smile on his face. Then, he accelerated, and pounced on Chu Yang. He thought that it would be easy to capture Chu Yang this time. However, when he was only 15 meters away from Chu Yang, who was running away in a sorry state, suddenly turned around. Looking at the black-clothed old man who was chasing after him alone, Chu Yang's eyes revealed a strange smile as if he had succeeded in his scheme. Little bastard. You still want to run away? The black-clothed man burst into loud laughter. He shook his head, and was extremely proud of himself. You want to kill me? Chu Yang retreated step by step in a panic. He tripped over a stone, and nearly fell down. He hastily jumped up, and looked at the black-clothed man with a calm expression. However, his eyes were flickering with a frightened light. So what if I kill you? You little bastard. You injured me. So, I won't kill you. You wish. The black-clothed man calmly landed on the ground. He crossed his hands behind his back. He had the demeanor of an expert. However, he was quickly adjusting his breathing to restore his strength. The fight with Chu Fei-ling was extremely thrilling. My chest and abdomen were almost cut open. The wound on my abdomen is still bleeding. Since the boss gave me the chance to adjust my breathing, how can I waste it? Moreover, this little guy is really weak. I thought that I would have to spend a lot of effort to catch up with him. I didn't expect that I would catch up so quickly. He's really a rookie. To deal with such a rookie, I can easily capture him with one finger. I shouldn't make a fuss out of nothing. Don't kill me, okay? Chu Yang asked pitifully. I can give you that thing, as long as you don't kill me. Yes. What is that thing? Quickly take it out. The black-clothed man's heart skipped a beat. The elixir that Chu Fei-ling gave me? Damn. That's good stuff. That thing. Chu Yang searched his body on the left and right. He looked anxious. Where is it? Where is it? Where did I put it? Are you playing with me? The black-clothed man stepped forward and shouted angrily. Chu Yang was even more anxious. How would I dare to play with you? Then, take it out. The black-clothed man snorted. Found it. Chu Yang cheered. There. Here. Chu Yang stretched out his right hand with a fawning look on his face. It seemed that he was holding something in his palm. He looked reluctant to part with it. Give it to me. The black-clothed man stretched out his hand to grab it. Give it to your grandmother, Chu Yang shouted. The black-clothed man was startled by the scolding. He was about to jump up in anger when he saw a flash in Chu Yang's empty palm. A long sword suddenly appeared. It rushed towards the black-clothed man with a biting cold sword energy like an angry dragon. The black-clothed man didn't expect that a king-level expert would dare to attack him, a third-grade emperor-level expert. He was still stretching out his hand with an expectant and complacent look on his face. He was caught off guard by the sword light. The black-clothed man shouted angrily. His upper body leaned back and his feet flew back at the same time. He felt a chill in front of his chest. Then, his chest was fiercely slashed again with a shua sound. This sword didn't pierce his heart because he had retreated quickly. Instead, it cut a big wound from his chest to his lower abdomen. The deepest part of the wound was his pink intestine, which had begun to bulge out. This sword attack was much more serious than Chu Fei-ling's saber attack. The black-clothed man looked at Chu Yang with disbelief in his eyes. What kind of divine weapon is that in his right hand? It almost killed me, an emperor-level expert, with the cultivation of a king-level expert. Then, he burst into uncontrollable rage. This is a disgrace. I have no face. This old man was plotted against by a mere second-grade king-level expert. This had become the biggest joke in the entire heavenly layer. However, he didn't have time to get angry. He saw that this little guy didn't stop. He was looking at him with ice-cold eyes. His body and sword merged into one, and turned into a wild dragon. Then, he violently rushed towards him. At the same time, a low and deep voice softly echoed, "What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world?" The voice wasn't loud. But, it fiercely wedged itself into the deepest part of the black-clothed man's heart. The black-clothed man felt a crazy shock in his heart. What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? This sword move isn't from the legends. This thought shocked him so much that he almost lost his ability to react. Such a legendary existence was actually encountered by him? If that's the case, then isn't this sword? However, the sword light had already reached his body. The black-clothed man stared in horror. He covered his stomach with one hand to stop his intestines from bulging out of his body. Then, he waved his saber to block the attack. At the same time, he desperately retreated, flying back. However, Chu Yang's move, "What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world?" could be executed with his current strength. He could madly rush forward for 500 feet. Within 500 feet, it was enough to destroy everything in its path. There was nothing it couldn't destroy. Now that it had exploded within 30 feet, he couldn't dodge it no matter how he retreated. The sword and the saber collided. However, the black-clothed man was seriously injured. How could he block the sharpest calamity sword in the world? A loud sound was heard. Chapter 421. The black-clothed elder screamed as he clutched his stomach with his left hand. However, Chu Yang's face was calm. His eyes were cold as he chased after him. The sword light was still merciless. As soon as it touched the black-clothed elder, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. The black-clothed elder was still retreating, but the sword light was faster. Like a maggot, it quickly caught up. Poof! The calamity sword rushed into the black-clothed elder's chest. This was the first time the black-clothed elder was killed. The sword tip, sword edge and sword edge emitted a violent murderous aura at the same time. It was as if the elder's blood had awakened the ferocity that had been hidden for 10,000 years. The tyrannical sword energy immediately exploded in his internal organs. With a boom, countless sword energies broke through his body and rushed out of his body. His internal organs were all turned into powder at this moment. The black-clothed elder's body became soft like a deflated balloon, but his neck was still straight, and his eyes hadn't even changed from panic. He stood weakly with his back hunched, and looked at the shining sword that was stabbed into his chest. Suddenly, he raised his head with difficulty and looked at Chu Yang. He asked with difficulty, "You are the master of Calamity Sword?" Chu Yang's heart shook. He looked at the black-clothed elder with cold eyes and said lightly, "How do you know?" The black-clothed elder had lost all signs of life. Chu Yang was not afraid. Instead, he was curious that the black-clothed elder knew his identity. "Ha!" The black-clothed elder laughed bitterly. "What harm in slaughtering the entire world? I didn't expect that. Calamity Sword Master actually allowed me to open a market." Chu Yang snorted, but his heart shook. The Yi clan was indeed the #1 clan in the heavenly layers. They actually remembered the names of the moves of Calamity Sword. In that case, it would be better for me not to call out these moves in the future. Damn it, I didn't expect that the habit of my previous life would have such a hidden danger. The black-clothed elder's eyes suddenly lit up. He opened his mouth and shouted, "He is!" Chu Yang let out a loud roar. The sword light slashed from bottom to top with a shua sound, and split him into two halves. A head was separated from the middle. The two halves of the corpse slowly fell down. A saber emperor died in the hands of the newly matured Calamity Sword Master in these 3 days. Chu Yang coldly snorted. "This bastard wants to call out my identity even before he dies." With a wave of his hand, the 2 pieces of the black-clothed old man's broken saber were put into the tribulation space. If the rest of the people came and saw the 2 pieces of the saber, they would definitely be wary of their own divine weapons. This was something that they couldn't see. A long howl came from afar, followed by a green ray of light flying over like a meteor. Behind the green light, there were 8 other lights swaying as they approached. Chu Fei Ling suddenly landed and called out, "Little brother, are you all right?" Suddenly, he saw the black-clothed old man's corpse, and suddenly cried out in alarm. He opened his mouth wide and took 2 steps back. You killed him?" His voice was filled with disbelief. Chu Feiling had never been so surprised in his life. This was simply inconceivable. Heavens, who can explain what is going on? A weapon-grade saber emperor had chased after a second-grade sword king. How could he have died in such a short time? I'm not dreaming, am I? Chu Yang nodded in embarrassment. Chu Fei Ling was petrified. Shua. Yi Ran Mo and the others landed, and turned their heads to look around. How come only this little bastard is here? Where's Elder? Where did he go? Suddenly, a scream was heard. The black-clothed old eight trembled as he pointed to the ground, and screamed, "Elder?" The other people discovered that there was a badly mutilated corpse on the ground. It was their younger brother's corpse. They couldn't help but cry out in alarm at the same time. Yiran Mo flew into a rage. "Who killed my younger brother? Come out if you have the guts." The other 7 people pulled out their sabers and looked around. Their eyes were bitingly cold and filled with grief and indignation. The surroundings were empty. There wasn't even a sound to be heard. A gust of wind blew, and the yellow sand swirled in the air. The 8 people couldn't believe that their younger brother had been killed by this shrimp-like second-grade king-level expert in front of them. It was impossible. How could a third-grade emperor-level expert die in the hands of a second-grade king-level expert? Even a person as stupid as a pig wouldn't associate it in this way. So, it must be someone else since he wasn't the one who killed him, and we saw Chu Fei Ling's corpse. Who is this person? Yiran Mo looked up to the sky, and roared. He then cursed loudly, "Fuck you. You dare to kill someone, but don't dare to admit it. Come out. You're a despicable person who hides his head and shows his tail. You're a shameless villain who takes advantage of people's perilous state. You're going to be cut into pieces." The other 7 people also cursed loudly. Their eyes were bloodshot, and their emotions were stirred up. Chu Fei Ling opened his mouth, and looked at these 8 people who had lost control of their emotions. Then, he looked at the innocent and terrified murderer who was standing in front of him. He suddenly felt speechless from the bottom of his heart. Fuck. What's going on here? The murderer is right in front of you, okay? What are you looking for? The 8 people cursed for a long time until they were tired. So, they stopped. However, their mouths were still cursing. Chu Yang turned a deaf ear to them. He put on a frightened expression, and hid behind Chu Fei Ling. His expression was innocent and pure. He looked like a good youngster who had never seen a corpse before. Just look at his expression. This youngster's temperament is pure and honest. He's kind and innocent. He's like a flower that grew up in a greenhouse. Yiran Mo suddenly turned his head, and fiercely looked at Chu Yang. "Little bastard. How did my brother die? What did you see? Tell me the truth." The other 7 people also suddenly realized that there was another witness here. They fiercely looked at Chu Yang. Their expressions were ferocious. It seemed as if they wanted to swallow Chu Yang whole. I. It's none of my business." Minister Chu's legs seemed to have gone soft from fear. His voice also trembled. "Tell me the truth." Yiran Mo roared, "I'll spare your life as long as you tell the truth." The expression on Chu Fei Ling's face became even more strange. In fact, it was somewhat distorted. I. Chu Yang trembled. "I'm so scared, don't be afraid." Yiran Mo was very angry. However, he had no choice but to soften his tone in order to find out the real culprit who had killed his brother. He suppressed his anger and murderous intention. He then lowered his voice and comforted Chu Yang. "Don't be afraid. I won't kill you as long as you tell the truth. I'll even reward you." "Reward?" Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He greedily stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Yes. Yiran Mo was very amiable. He even smiled. "What reward?" Minister Chu timidly asked. "This." Yiran Mo was so angry that his belly almost exploded. However, Chu Fei Ling was glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey. So, it was impossible to interrogate him. This hateful little bastard is taking advantage of this opportunity to loot a burning house. He had no choice but to reach into his bosom and take out a purple crystal. "Do you see this? This purple crystal is yours as long as you tell me." The purple crystal that Yiran Mo had taken out was as big as a fist. It was sparkling and translucent with purple light. It seemed to be very valuable. Chu Fei Ling also chimed in. "Little brother, Brother Yi is very sincere. You should tell him. As for the account between us, there's no harm in settling it later." Yiran Mo straightened up. He looked at Chu Fei Ling with mixed feelings. Then, he said in a heavy voice, "Brother Chu is indeed a gentleman. This Yi admires you. Chu Fei-ling almost laughed out loud. He felt extremely carefree in his heart. He smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. That matter is that matter. Now, it's more important to find the real murderer. This Chu is a step late. I'm also very ashamed that I didn't see the real murderer." One of them wanted to give it to Chu Yang with sincerity. The other one wanted to help him. And Chu Yang wanted it wholeheartedly. Minister Chu stretched out his hand. He hesitantly took the purple crystal and put it in his pocket. Then, he looked around with fear in his eyes. "I'm afraid that he's still in the vicinity." Yi Ranmo heard this and understood the meaning behind his words. He turned his head and said, "You guys set up a perimeter. Keep a close watch on the surroundings. Don't let the murderer hurt this little brother. The little bastard has also become little brother, little brother." The 7 people complied and spread out. Yi Ranmo had a fake smile on his face. He approached Chu Yang. The two of them were only a few steps away from each other. Then, he said in an amiable manner, "Little brother, you can tell me now." He thought in his heart, "If you tell me, I'll turn you into minced meat with my backhand. Then, I'll snatch that thing from you." Chu Yang trembled and nodded. His eyes revealed a look of fear as he said, "I don't know what happened. I was running for my life." Then, that man in black clothes suddenly flew down from the sky. He fell down in a flash. "Oh!" Yi Ranmo's eyes flashed. "Then, he scolded me. I ran away. But, a voice suddenly came from that side. He said." Chu Yang's face exposed a look of extreme fear. It seemed that even the little bastard's face had turned pale. "What did he say?" Yi Ranmo immediately raised his attention. He squinted his eyes and looked in the direction where Chu Yang was pointing. "Well, there seems to be a few piles of stones over there. Could it be that the murderer was hiding there?" "At that time," he said. Chu Yang's voice became even lower. "What did he say in the end?" Yi Ranmo was somewhat impatient. He was paying attention to the piles of stones on one side. Then, he turned his head and impatiently urged Chu Yang. He said. Chu Yang stammered. Then, he suddenly roared. He said that he was going to fucking milk. This shout was like a thunderclap in spring. It shook Yi Ranmo's mind and sent him into a state of chaos. Chu Yang didn't hesitate at all. The calamity sword silently appeared in his hand as he shouted. Then, he crazily attacked the head of the man who had tilted his head and was waiting for an answer. Chu Yang's hands and feet seemed to have spasmed at this moment. One ray of cold light pierces 10,000 fathoms. What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? A sharp wall buried deep does not change. A gathering of wind and clouds is the emperor. A sword blade that has been famous for all eternity. Wind and clouds move in the west and east. The sun and the moon work together, splitting the mountains and breaking the peaks. The sky is blood red. A blade crosses the sky for 10,000 autumns. This road leads to the netherworld, cutting off the lovers of the mortal world. Everything ends where the edge goes. Skeletons in the palm of my hand are as high as a mountain. A pool of blood surges under the sword. The mortal world is the path of ruthlessness, beheading the whole world without retracting the blade. Chu Yang crazily unleashed 10 moves in a row. These moves were the most powerful sword techniques in both ancient and modern times. They were all unleashed on Yi Ranmo's head, which was tilting his head and waiting for an answer. The sword light was like a tsunami. It instantly filled the entire radius of 30 feet. It wasn't wasted at all. Chapter 422. The sword light exploded like a thunderbolt. The sword energy collapsed like a mountain. In a split second, everyone was stunned. Everyone was stunned. Chu Fei-ling was stunned as well. He had thought that this little guy would come out to vent his anger, and would jump behind him to seek protection. Therefore, Chu Fei-ling had made preparations to provide support. After all, one of the opponents had already died. It seemed that the terrifying array couldn't be used anymore. Therefore, Chu Fei-ling didn't need to fear the remaining 8 Saber Emperors since his cultivation was at the Saber Emperor level. However, he hadn't expected that this guy would make a move without any warning. Moreover, he had done it so violently. The remaining 7 Saber Emperors were also stupefied. Fuck. In the blink of an eye, this pitiful youngster had turned into the king of hell, the king of death. The most stunned one was Yi Ran-mo, the great saber emperor. The old man was filled with resentment as he tilted his head to one side, preparing to listen to the news that he was most interested in from this little guy. Just as he was caught off guard, an extremely sharp sword aura suddenly erupted beside his head like a tsunami. This was a real tragedy. Yi Ran-mo crazily screamed. He was trembling, spasming, and struggling. How could Chu Yong be merciful when he plundered them? It could be said that young Master Chu didn't know what it meant to be merciful in both his previous and current lives. The swordlight fell like rain. Puff. The first responsibility was to erase Yi Ran-mo's eyes, which were brimming with a strong thirst for knowledge. Yi Ran-mo crazily screamed. The follow-up swordlight had completely exploded. Shua shua shua. Shua shua shua. Yi Ran-mo raised his hands to protect his head. But shua shua shua. The swordlight was extremely sharp. Yi Ran-mo's arms had turned into white bones in 1/100th of a second. Then, they got crushed. A big hole appeared in Yi Ran-mo's chest with a puff sound. What harm is there in slaughtering the entire world? Everyone stared blankly at Yi Ran-mo as if they had been struck by lightning. Yi Ran-mo's body had been riddled with holes under the sword light. His head had turned into a skull without flesh and blood. Then, his entire body had turned into a skeleton. Then, with a shua sound, his body had turned into a scarlet-red color that fluttered in the air. Yi Ran-mo had disappeared. It has to be said that Yi Ran-mo was a dignified middle-grade saber emperor. But he had died in such an aggrieved manner. He hadn't even had a chance to fight back. It should be said that he hadn't even had the thought of fighting back. So, he had died. If Yi Ran-mo knew about this after his death, perhaps he would be so angry that he would come back to life, and then die of anger again. The most outrageous thing was that Yi Ran-mo had already disappeared. But that crisscrossing executioner's light couldn't stop its momentum, and crazily hacked at the air that was filled with dense blood and flesh. Half of the sword light burst out. Chu Yong's body spun around. Before everyone had woken up, Chu Yong nimbly hid behind Chu Fei Ling. Then, he gestured and ordered, "What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and kill them." Chu Fei Ling opened his mouth wide and let out a clear catcher sound. He finally closed his mouth, but then opened it again. With a hiss sound, he sucked in a breath of cold air. After recovering from his shock, he turned around and looked at Chu Yong. You killed him?" Chu Fei Ling only felt that his mind was in a mess. How could this be? How could this be? How could a second-grade king-level expert break through an emperor-level expert's protective aura? A second-grade emperor-level expert's protective aura has already formed a protective Yuan gang. This was also the reason why Yi Ran-mo had dared to come so close to him. Yi Ran-mo couldn't have died in his hands no matter how one looked at it. But this had happened. Nonsense. Chu Yong rolled his eyes and said in a bad mood. He clearly felt that his IQ had been insulted. No matter how you look at it, there's still a 10% chance that they have the same origin. Why am I so smart, but you're so stupid? But Chu Fei Ling's brain crashed. He couldn't react for a while. But what? Killing people is more important now. Chu Yong helplessly said, "Big brother, can't you ask after this matter is over?" Fuck. They've all woken up. You see, you've delayed the timing. Chu Yong was so angry that his stomach hurt. Sure enough, the 7 people on the other side issued a strange cry in unison. It was a heart-wrenching pain. They didn't dare to believe it, but they had no choice but to believe it. "Big brother." Blood mist floated in the air. "What are you shouting for? Your big brother has turned into ashes." Chu Yong said in an evil voice. "What are you shouting for? It's an obvious fact. Your big brother has turned into ashes, and you're still calling him big brother. You killed my big brother." The black-clothed old man turned around and looked at Chu Yong in anger. Then, he suddenly roared in an earth-shattering manner, "You bastard. You deserve to die. Not only your big brother, but that one over there, was also killed by me." Chu Yong proudly puffed out his chest. "What? Bite me if you have the ability. This old man is really fierce. What's wrong with that? The black-clothed old man was so angry that his vision turned black. He roared wildly, "Kill him! Avenge big brother and little brother! Kill him! Ah, fuck!" Chu Yang hastily turned to Chu Feiling. "Big brother, it's your turn to show your invincible might." Chu Feiling didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at him. He couldn't help but think in his heart, "Motherfucker, what kind of evil and inhumane parents can give birth to such a clown? This matter is really too much." Blade Edge. Blade Edge 4, that Yi Ran Mo is also provoking such an unparalleled little ancestor is really a stroke of bad luck. The 7 people over there had already rushed over with blood-red eyes. Facing them head-on. Young Master Chu would never do something that didn't require skill. In fact, he wanted to do so. But he wasn't a match for any of these 7 people. He was afraid that he would be avenged if he rushed over. Therefore, Chu Yang hid behind Chu Feiling and waved his hand calmly, "Go." Chu Feiling couldn't help but roll his eyes. But he still obediently went forward. Yi Ran Mo was the leader of the formation. So, the old man was also dead. The formation had already been defeated. So, how could the remaining 7 third-grade Saber Emperors be a match for Chu Feiling, who was at the peak of third-grade Saber Emperor's level? Chu Feiling cautiously pulled out his saber and went forward. But he was startled when he touched the saber. That's because the pressure he felt now was 3 or 4 times less than before. What's going on? Could it be that Yi Ran Mo's death is so effective? Chu Feiling didn't show the slightest bit of mercy. His appearance was refined and scholarly, but his moves were ruthless. His saber took lives with each strike. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was too big. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was like a tiger had entered a flock of sheep. Big brother Chu only attacked. He didn't defend. Every saber strike made the enemy flee in distress. But he didn't have to worry about the opposite party's offensive. His belly full of resentment from being besieged a moment ago finally broke out incisively and vividly. The saber light moved like rain. Chu Feiling had suppressed the 7 saber emperors with his strength alone. The entire scene of the battle was like a dazzling ball of light. It was refracting a magnificent and strange brilliance under the sunlight. Chu Yang stood outside the battle circle. The playful look on his face had already disappeared without a trace. He was trying to figure out what was going on. These 8 people are Emperor-level expert. Each of them has their own unique skills. And each of them is worth learning. The Spirit Executioner was unceasingly displaying the moves that each of these experts had used. Then, he tirelessly pointed out the subtleties of each move. He pointed out where the next move was, and how to improve the attack to make it more powerful. He also pointed out how to defend himself if he were to face them. He also pointed out how to exploit their flaws. Chu Yang listened in a daze. Just as he was immersed in the endless mysteries of martial arts, he suddenly heard a scream. A black-clothed man's body had been cut into pieces by Chu Feiling's saber light in a split second. Chu Feiling's saber move looks like a single saber move. But it's actually a saber move. The sword spirit's eyes lit up as he said, "Look at his posture." His wrist was facing upwards when he wielded his saber. But his saber was already facing sideways when he wielded his saber. His palm was facing downwards when he wielded his saber. This way, the saber light changed 3 times with the help of his wrist. But the target was always the same. So, when the saber lights converged, the saber light would collide with each other and create a huge explosive force. This explosive force would split the saber light into pieces. This is what you see. This is a sure kill move. It's also a sure kill move. The sword spirit heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Don't think that this is very simple. But this move is useless if any saber light isn't in place and can't appear at the most suitable place. In the field of saber cultivation, this move is called yellow flower blooming. It's similar to the yellow flower pistil of the executioner's cultivation. I didn't expect a mere saber emperor to be able to use this move. This is a move that can only be comprehended by a monarch-level expert." Chu Yang grunted, carefully pondering over the mysteries of this move. But no matter how hard he thought, he still couldn't figure it out. You don't have enough strength to use this move. If you practice this move rashly, I'm afraid you'll twist your wrist into a fried dough twist, the spirit executioner teased. Chu Yang didn't know why, but he clearly felt that the spirit executioner's attitude towards him had undergone a fundamental change since yesterday. He used to be somewhat impudent, but he was somewhat respectful now. Chu Yang didn't understand why there was such a change. Another blood-curdling scream was heard. Another saber emperor died under Chu Feiling's saber. There were only 5.5 kilograms left. And these 5 people were already riddled with scars. They couldn't hold on for much longer. After all, they couldn't resist the power of a low-grade saber emperor. The black-clothed old man screamed, "Brothers, let's fight to the death." The 4 people complied. Their bodies simultaneously emitted a cold, murderous aura. An aura of despair suddenly pervaded the air. They want to perish together. Chu Yang's heart shook. Their target is you. The spirit executioner sighed deeply. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.